Chapter 1299. Bai Yunj glanced at Yu Guang indifferently and continued to play with her phone. Yu Guang looked at the person sitting on the sofa. Bai Yunj was indeed angry when it came to Lin Longjun. She even started to pretend that she didn't know him. Professor Yu. Even mother he greeted Yu Guang politely when she saw him. After all, although Yu Guang was only a professor now, he had made a lot of contributions and was one of the most important people in the scientific research field. He was also the closest to the higher-ups. Isn't this old Yu? Why do you have time to come here? Old he laughed heartily and spoke to Yu Guang in a pleasing manner. Chairman Ma saw these big shots and wanted to hide in a corner, not daring to speak. But the next moment, Yu Guang smiled faintly and said, "Isn't this about the infectious disease in the north of Continent K?" Yu Guang couldn't help but say, "Bai Yunj, don't you have any manners now?" Who knew? Bai Yunj raised her eyebrows and said perfunctorily, "Hello, Professor Yu. Do you want me to pour you a cup of tea?" Yu Guang was speechless. How did this last develop such a temper? Old He's smile froze. He didn't expect that there would be a junior who dared to treat Yu Guang with such an attitude. What was even more unexpected was that Yu Guang wasn't angry at all and was even friendly. "Fine, you see, I won't complain to your grandmother." Yu Guang suddenly lost his cold appearance and became an unreasonable old man. Bai Yunj was speechless. Okay, let's deal with the matter first. Yu Guang had just received a call from the higher-ups. When he found out that Bai Yunj had applied for the virus laboratory, he immediately called Bai Mingzhang to understand the situation. After that, he rushed here without stopping to rest. The higher-ups said that no matter what, they couldn't let anything happen. Old He, Chairman Ma, let's have a meeting together. Yu Guang glanced at Mother He. Unrelated people can leave first. Mother He didn't look too good, but after glancing at Old He, she still left in her high heels. But just as Yu Guang was about to speak, he saw Bai Yunj walking towards the door as well. "Bai Yunj, where are you going?" Yu Guang was furious. Bai Yunj turned around and replied perfunctorily. She leaned against the wall and tilted her head with a smile. I'm going home to hide my grandma." Yu Guang's eyelids jumped. He didn't care about this Pai's perfunctory words. "Stay here. Let's have a meeting later." Elder He couldn't help but frown. He didn't understand Yu Guang's intentions. What right did this little girl have to attend a meeting with them? Seminar. 20 people sat around a long table. When everyone saw Yu Guang sitting on the left side of the main seat, they couldn't help but be puzzled. Could it be that this seat was reserved for Elder He? After all, Chairman Ma wasn't qualified to sit above Yu Guang. But even if it was Old He, it didn't make sense. Everyone's thoughts ran wild, but after Old He arrived. When Old He saw Yu Guang sitting on the main seat, he was stunned for a moment. But he knew in his heart that this seat was definitely not reserved for him. So he walked to Yu Guang's side and sat on the second seat on the left side of the main seat. 3 minutes later, almost everyone had arrived. Just as everyone was waiting to see who would sit on the main seat, the door was suddenly pushed open. From outside the door, an extremely young and beautiful girl walked in. She casually glanced at everyone and naturally walked to the main seat and sat down. Chapter 1300. Her voice was casual and cold, but she was not afraid at all. There are quite a lot of people here. On the other hand, the others were inexplicably frightened by Bai Yunj's glare. Bai Yunj had been sitting in the host's seat since her previous life. Naturally, she was used to it. However, the others instantly exploded. Who was this girl? What right did she have to sit in the host's seat? One had to know that Zhou Moping was sitting on the left. "This is the agreement for all of you. Before the meeting, please sign it." Zhou Moping began to arrange for everyone to sign the agreement. Right then. When everyone received the agreement, they originally thought that it was a confidential matter that required everyone to sign the agreement. However, when they flipped to the first page, they were completely stunned. This was a familiar confidentiality requirement. In the country, there were very few who could receive such treatment. Especially in the scientific research field, true enough. Everyone scanned the last few lines of the agreement, subject of confidentiality agreement. Everyone's expression changed. They suddenly looked up at Bei Yunj. No one expected that, to be so young. However, at this moment, holding the agreement in his hands, Old He's expression was the worst. Old He slowly looked up at Bei Yunj. His mind was in a mess. He completely did not expect that Director Lin's granddaughter would be a mystery in the scientific research field. Why is YY here? Someone asked softly and excitedly. To them, such an existence was destined to write history and be a celebrity for eternity. Let everyone know that. I'm here today as Lin Longjuan's relative to participate in the public discussion of this seminar, Shou Moping said slowly. However, as soon as she finished speaking, only 3 words appeared in everyone's mind. It's over. How could she be Lin Longjuan's relative? Gu do you have anything to say to everyone? Shou Moping turned and asked. Initially, Shou Moping thought that Bei Yunj would at least give her some face and try peaceful means before resorting to force. However, when Bei Yunj heard this, she really glanced at the rest of the people present and snorted coldly. Everyone, you're very bold. The threat was blatant. Everyone's hearts, which were already uneasy, trembled even more. True enough. This big shot dared to say such harsh words in front of everyone. But at that time, no one would have thought that the granddaughter that Director Lin picked up for free would be. Shou Moping's lips twitched. Did he want her to intimidate everyone present? However, Shou Moping glanced at the group of people who had a look of fear on their faces and slowly said, I heard that during the seminar, all the staff members were agitated and said that they had to recommend Lin Longjun this time. Since that's the case, does anyone have a reason? After saying this, the arena fell into a dead silence. At this moment, the person sitting on the main seat felt flustered even when he breathed, not to mention the terrifying expression in his eyes that seemed to be smiling yet not smiling. It was numb. This time, he had stepped on a soft persimmon and accidentally stepped on a hard nail. Didn't you say that other than Lin Longjun, no one can save the people in northern K continent? Shou Moping continued to ask. The members of the seminar were even more frightened. In fact, although Lin Longjun was suitable, according to convention, the person who should be recommended the most was He Jun. After all, in addition to being young and healthy, He Jun was also talented in biology and happened to have in-depth research in virology and infectious diseases. However, everyone was eager to see how President Ma had soared through the He family. Who would dare to offend the He family? Chapter 1301. If everyone has decided on this, then I think everyone can also decide on the candidates for the laboratory assistants. After that, Shou Moping displayed the application information of the few laboratory assistants on the screen. Everyone's eyelids twitched when they saw that there was actually someone among the applicants. This person wanted to be a laboratory assistant for the project. If they really went to Country R and went to the northern part of Continent K with those researchers. If something happened, wouldn't they be done for? It's not suitable. How can you go? Someone suggested with a dark expression. Why? What do you mean? Bei Yunj looked up slowly and asked with a faint smile. No. That place is dangerous and backward. You're still young. How can you? His voice stopped abruptly. Everyone knew what he meant by his unfinished words. How could he send himself to his death? But the moment he said that, it was obvious why they wanted Lin Longjun to go to the northern part of Continent K. Wasn't this a slap to their faces? However, he had actually applied to accompany Lin Longjun abroad. This move had simply forced them into a corner. As long as they agreed to go, then if anything happened, none of them would be able to escape responsibility. Actually, although Director Lin is the most respected senior in the field of biology, there are still many talented juniors. There's no need for Director Lin to go personally. Not long after the awkwardness, someone immediately changed his mind. Yes, I agree too. Everyone chimed in. This made the smile in Zhou Moping's eyes disappear. His expression was indifferent. Is that so? Then do you have anyone else to recommend? As soon as he finished speaking, he felt the probing gazes around him and his expression changed. He was furious. What did this bunch of idiots mean? They knew that they couldn't afford to offend him, so they dared to send his grandson to his death. Mr. Heejun is indeed young and promising. It depends on Heejun's wishes. The person who spoke didn't dare to look at old He. And this feeling of holding in a bellyful of anger caused old He's face to darken even more. These wretches who changed their sails according to the wind and sucked up to those in power. Heejun is still young. He still needs experience. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows. Why? Is your grandson still in high school? Old He's expression was ugly. He opened his mouth but couldn't say anything. The atmosphere became awkward. Speaking of age, no one was younger than the person sitting on the main seat. However, even so, when he was in high school, he already dared to reject Farisk and even beat up this racist boss on the spot, and the young grandson that old master he was talking about was already in his 30s. Compared to this, it was an eye-catching beating. Since there are still objections to the recommended candidates, why don't we leave this matter to everyone to discuss? Zhou Moping glanced at them and said calmly. Although he was furious when he found out about what had happened to Lin Longjun, he couldn't forget his bottom line as a researcher. Therefore, he wouldn't force the person from the He family to go if he wasn't willing. Hearing Zhou Moping's words, everyone finally heaved a sigh of relief, but the clothes on their backs were drenched in cold sweat. Fortunately, there was still a chance to remedy the situation. However, as soon as the meeting was over, the members received a bloody scolding from their leader. As for Bei Yunj, it was a different situation. Chapter 1302. Why? Miss Pei, this is your application form. The person in charge looked young. He handed the application form back to Bei Yunj and smiled carefully. It's our first time meeting. I'm the person in charge of the seminar, Hu Xian. I used to be Director Lin's student. Bei Yunj only glanced at him calmly, but the surrounding atmosphere was getting more and more oppressive. Even Zhou Moping could not help but cough lightly. Yunj. Bei Yunj played with her phone and did not even look up. What's the matter, Professor Zhou? Zhou Moping was speechless. Before Zhou Moping could speak, a caller ID suddenly appeared on Bei Yunj's phone. Zhou Moping glanced at it from the corner of his eye and saw that it was Lin Longjun. Just as expected. In the next moment, Bei Yunj, whose eyes were originally cold, answered the call and her tone was unbelievably gentle. Grandma, what's wrong? Can't I call you if there's nothing? Lin Longjun mumbled, but her tone was a little guilty. She secretly glanced at Bai Mingzhang, who was hinting at her with his eyes. However, Bei Yunj's eyes curved as she lowered her head and smiled patiently. Don't, Director Lin. Who provoked you? Are you venting your anger on me? When Zhou Moping and Hu Xian heard this completely different tone, their eyes were complicated and they could not help but be envious. Indeed, doing good deeds would be pitied by the heavens. After Director Lin left the laboratory, she had been helping thousands of children study and grow up for so many years. This granddaughter she casually picked up could become a big boss in the future. I heard from your grandpa that you're at the seminar. Lin Longjun asked. The smile on Bai Yunji's lips did not change, but she glanced at Zhou Moping and Hu Xian calmly. Hu Xian is a good student. He even helped our orphanage in the past. You're not allowed to lose your temper with anyone, understand? Lin Longjuan's gentle voice sounded from the phone. Bai Yunj was silent for a moment. Okay. However, Zhou Moping and Hu Xian were still a little uneasy. They did not know if Lin Longjuan's call was useful. Would wild wolf cubs be obedient and listen to others? But after hanging up the phone, Hu Xian heard Bai Yunji's attitude soften a lot. She turned to look at him and said, Mr. Hu, Director Lin said that you should go to her place for tea when you're free. Hu Xian did not even dare to breathe loudly at first, but after hearing this, he was completely relieved. I haven't seen teacher for so long. In 2 days, I'll definitely serve tea to you. Hu Xian said immediately. Grandpa Zhou, Mr. Hu, since there's nothing else, I'll head back to school first. Bai Yunj glanced at her watch and did not continue to talk about what had just happened. After Bai Yunj left, Hu Xian heaved a sigh of relief. It's all right, Mississippi. Her temper isn't like what the rumors say. Zhou Moping chuckled. Don't look like it. He turned to look at Hu Xian and said, Little Hu, this is a great kindness. Other than Longjun, not many words can enter her ears. Yun University. As soon as Bai Yunj returned, she heard people talking about her. Occasionally, 1 or 2 passers-by would even glance at her. Yunj. Song Yao's voice trailed from not far away. Bai Yunj looked away and did not think about the reason for these people's strange gazes. Didn't you have a shoot today? Bai Yunj glanced at her watch. The shoot was delayed, so I wanted to prepare for this performance and the midterm exam. Song Yao could not help knocking her head. She also had a headache about the philosophy department's midterm exam. P.S. I'll go out for a meal first before I update. Don't wait, come and see me tomorrow morning. Chapter 1303. Who knew? Bai Yunj even made sarcastic remarks. Stop knocking. She's not smart to begin with. Song Yao pursed her lips and reached out to knock Bai Yunj's head. The two of them were fooling around and did not notice the subtle expressions of the passers-by. In the teachers' meeting room of Yun University. At this moment, a young-looking boy was the most out of place among the professors. In less than 30 minutes, the boy handed the paper to the professor. I'm done. The others were surprised. You're done. Yun University's admission test for transfer students had always been the so-called hell mode. Even the current students of Yun University might not be able to pass, therefore, it was extremely difficult to transfer to Yun University. When the boy heard this, he leaned back in his chair arrogantly, crossed his legs, and snorted. I heard that this paper is very difficult. But I think it's average. Your school's standards are really surprising. Hearing this, the professors did not look too good, but after one of them checked the paper, the accuracy rate was as high as 99%. He indeed had the right to be proud. Forget it. Since I've decided to come to Yun University, I won't mind the abilities of your students. Wang Guanchen adjusted his collar and did not even look at the professors. Since student Wang has passed our school's computer science exam, then, do you have a class you like? Our professors are all very responsible, and their professional abilities are unquestionable, the principal asked with a faint smile. Whatever. As long as it's less troublesome. After Wang Guanchen finished speaking, the other professors looked at each other. Actually, they were still willing to take Wang Guanchen in. After all, Wang Guanchen came from the Shi family in Continent K, which was a big family that controlled Laboratory 191. although they heard that the next successor of Laboratory 191 seemed to be an unknown young man. Professor C, do you think there can be one more person in your class? After the principal spoke, Si Qingyan raised his eyebrows and glanced at Wang Guanchen, who had an arrogant expression on his face. Anything is fine, but I don't have time to be a nanny. After Si Qingyan finished speaking casually, the atmosphere suddenly froze. However, no one dared to point at Si Qingyan. After all, Si Qingyan was also a famous genius in the industry. He had become a computer science professor at Yun University at the age of 26. But when Wang Guanchen heard this, his face completely darkened. Not long after, he asked, "Are you Si Qingyan?" Before Wang Guanchen came, he had also heard of Si Qingyan's name. The official members of the Computing Institute probably knew the famous one. Wang Guanchen, is something the matter? Si Qingyan raised his eyebrows lazily. You don't want to teach me? Wang Guanchen asked with a sullen face. However, Si Qingyan smiled. Student Wang, no one doesn't like talented students. However, talent should at least be proportional to a genius illness. After that, Si Qingyan suddenly stood up. Principal, I'm going to look for our classmate Pei. I'll get going first. Si Qingyan, what do you mean by this? Wang Guanchen slammed the table and stood up, looking ferocious because of his anger. Student Wang, Yun University doesn't lack geniuses. Si Qingyan sneered and left. Only Wang Guanchen was left with a gloomy face. What did Si Qingyan mean? How dare he look down on him? Why don't you let me guide you, Student Wang? One of the female professors took the initiative to say with a smile. Seeing that Wang Guanchen didn't object, the principal agreed. Suddenly, Wang Guanming asked, "Who is Student Pei?" Chapter 1304. Awkwardness appeared on everyone's faces, but no one said anything. A student from the physics department. After the principal answered vaguely, he asked them to leave first. After leaving, the female professor standing beside Wang Guanchen sneered. Student Wang, as the top scholar of this year's college entrance examination, Student Pei has received the favor of our leaders. With that said, she looked at Wang Guanchen and said with a smile, however, what goes around comes around. Who knows how long she can be smug? The top scholar of the college entrance examination? The corners of Wang Guanchen's lips twitched and he said disdainfully, every year, there will be a top scholar, but what's the use of a fool who only knows how to study? Time passed quickly and the gala performance would be held in a few days. The score written by Bai Yunj was not simple, so in order not to drag Bai Yunj down, Song Yao would come to the performance hall to practice when she was free. Student Wang, this is our Yun University's performance hall. Look. The person who spoke was the president of the student union, Hu Ji, who had confessed to Song Yao in public last time. However, at this moment, he was bending down to curry favor with Wang Guanchen. Wang Guanchen had only been here for a few days, but his name had already spread far and wide in Yun University. In the department, Wang Guanchen had provoked the most experienced and authoritative professor and crushed the computing department. As for the computer science department of Yunhua University, the news of a genius transfer student had already spread throughout the entire school. Wang Guanchen looked at Song Yao for a while and suddenly laughed. He said meaningfully, the girls in your school are quite pretty. Hu Ji's expression froze, then he laughed coldly in a strange manner. This is the belle of our philosophy department, Song Yao. Her relationship with this year's top scholar is really good. Wang Guanchen's tone turned cold. That top scholar again. Hu Ji said, you know. I heard that the Computing Key Laboratory will prepare a spot for her this year. Why is someone from another department joining in the fun in the computing department's laboratory? Wang Guanchen looked even more disgusted. Seeing that Wang Guanchen was unhappy, Hu Ji was overjoyed, but his expression did not change. Yes, I heard that. This year, there's only one spot for the key laboratory. What do you mean? Do you mean that I can't take this spot and directly decide it on someone from the physics department? Wang Guanchen immediately asked with a dark face. Did these people know that he was a probationary member of Laboratory 191 of the Confederation of K, and compared to the freshmen here, the difference was like heaven and earth? That's hard to say. Who knows, there might be an increase in the quota. Hu Ji immediately comforted him. Wang Guanchen's tone became even more sarcastic. I don't like sharing a lab with a nerd. As soon as he finished speaking. It was only then that the two of them realized that their conversation had been heard by Song Yao, who had stopped practicing on stage. Before Wang Guanchen could find a topic to talk to Song Yao, he heard a boy's voice not far away. Lu Yuanzi had a bag of snacks in each hand and a bag of baguettes in his mouth. He placed the baguettes on the table and said, Yao Yao, your black coffee is here. Is Master Pei here yet? Not yet. After Song Yao walked down, Lu Yuanzi realized that there were two strangers around. What's going on? Nothing. Song Yao picked up a cup of black coffee and said slowly, someone just wants to kick an iron plate. Instantly, Wang Guanchen's expression darkened. Lu Yuanzi raised his eyebrows and immediately understood who the iron plate Song Yao was talking about was. Oh, someone dares to kick our Master Pei's ass. Chapter 1305. Lu Yuanzi raised his eyebrows slightly, looking like he was watching a show. How dare a physics student be so arrogant? Wang Guanchen glanced at Lu Yuanzi and Song Yunyao coldly before he turned and left. Seeing this, Lu Yuanzi took out a baguette and took a bite of it casually. This is that transfer student, right? I heard that she's very capable and doesn't even like the professors in her department. After not hearing Song Yao's reply for a long time, he turned around and saw Song Yao looking at him. She said, this is Yunji's. Lu Yuanzi was speechless. Then, in front of Song Yao, Lu Yuanzi finished the baguette one after another fiercely, demonstrating his strength fiercely. Song Yao was speechless. Stop eating, Song Yao said softly, as if she was hinting at something. However, when Lu Yuanzi heard this, he wolfed down the food even more excitedly, not feeling like a handsome man at all. Until, suddenly, someone slapped his forehead from behind. Lu Yuanzi's face turned red from choking. He turned around and realized that it was the expressionless Bei Yunj. She laughed coldly. Brother Lu, are you showing off to me? Lu Yuanzi's back turned cold. F***ck. A few minutes later. Have you heard? There's a transfer student in the computing department recently. Everyone says that she's a big boss with a high IQ. Lu Yuanzi rubbed his head and asked her with interest. Bei Yunj did not take off the silver-rimmed glasses she was wearing in the laboratory. She only bit the baguette and watched Song Yao practice the piano below the stage. Not interested. She's very interested in you. She just came to challenge you. Lu Yuanzi raised an eyebrow. Suddenly, Bei Yunj laughed and raised her eyebrows lazily. She asked slowly, you call this a challenge? I've always called this behavior, giving away your head. Lu Yuanzi was speechless. He could not win against her. In the conference hall, Wang Guanchen had just entered when it stirred up quite a few heated discussions. Brother Chin, you're a famous person in our computing department. Look at how enthusiastic the girls in our department are looking at you. The boy beside him looked smug and Wang Guanchen's eyes were filled with confidence. However, the second-year senior in the second row, who was touching up her makeup, rolled her eyes. Did these two people misunderstand the meaning of the word passion? After a while, Wang Guanchen glanced at the girls around him and frowned. There aren't many girls in our department who are good-looking. It was as if these girls were just ornamental objects to him. Those who can watch are all in the art department. After Wang Guanchen and the others finished their discussion, they sat down and realized that the person holding the meeting today was the elderly female professor who was at odds with Wang Guanchen the most. Wang Guanchen's face instantly darkened. He crossed his arms and sneered uncooperatively. Old woman. In the entire computing department, other than Si Qingyan, this old-fashioned Professor Pan had the worst attitude towards him. Who doesn't know that Professor Pan is biased towards girls? It's as if the women in our computer science department can hold up half the sky. The boys crossed their arms and laughed. On the stage, Professor Pan Yanlu pushed up his glasses. Is everyone here? The audience was noisy, but no one answered the question. There were even some boys who deliberately chatted loudly. Until the next moment. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. In the blink of an eye, the crowd saw a beautiful and flamboyant girl. Professor Pan, do you mind having another auditing student? I won't come empty-handed. Bai Yunj tilted her head and shook the bouquet of roses in her hand. Her lips curled up casually. Instantly, the girls present were in an uproar and almost screamed in excitement. She was too flirtatious. Chapter 1306. Ah, Bai Yunj is amazing. Not only is she pretty, but she's also flirtatious and polite. What kind of ideal is this? The girls couldn't help but discuss excitedly. It turned out that girls loved to look at pretty girls more than anyone else. Especially someone like Bai Yunj, who had bright and beautiful eyebrows and a lazy aura. She was a classic example of both men and women. At this moment, the senior sitting in the front row deliberately used a loud voice and deliberately dragged out a laugh. This is the enthusiasm of the masses. In an instant, Wang Guanchen's face darkened as if he had been ridiculed. He could indeed feel the enthusiasm of the crowd as soon as this person walked in. It was so high that it made his scalp tingle. Even the stern Professor Pan couldn't hide the smile at the corners of his mouth. Bai Yunj. Wang Guanchen couldn't believe it. This is a girl. He had always thought that the top scorer of the college entrance examination would be a nerd with glasses as thick as the bottom of a beer bottle. However, he didn't expect that the Bai Yunj who walked in front of him was completely different from what he had expected. Her eyes were beautiful and bright, but her every move was unruly, making people afraid to approach her. However, she also had the perfect amount of politeness and elegance. Even among her peers, there was no one with this kind of aura. You're here every day, but I don't see you changing departments. Hurry up and find a seat. Professor Pan snorted coldly. He didn't seem to like Bai Yunj, but he hugged the roses that Bai Yunj had given him and smiled even more deeply. Lin Longjun and Professor Pan had always had a good relationship, so Bai Yunj would occasionally come to Professor Pan's classes. Is your professor always like this? When he asked me to help out in the laboratory last week, I thought it would be another touching teacher-student relationship. It's so sad. Bai Yunj raised her eyebrows and dragged out the end of her words lazily as she sighed and asked the senior student sitting in the front row. When the girls around her heard this, they were originally nervous because of Professor Pan's meeting, but they immediately relaxed. No one would have thought that the most outrageous rumor from before seemed to be true. This top scorer's father, who couldn't even write down a single record of any disciplinary violations or fights, was surprisingly well-mannered and cultured in a certain way. No wonder Bai Yunj had been stuffed with love letters by both men and women when she was in high school. After being glared at by Professor Pan, Bai Yunj, who was sitting in the first row, was still the center of attention. Sitting in the middle, Wang Guanchen could hear a lot of discussion. His face was getting darker and darker. It's not uncommon to see top students in Yun University, but what is a top student like him if he's not the Gu King? Don't you think that when Master Pei sits there, his aura is even more flirtatious than a guy's? Help! Look at Master Pei. He's making our senior belle blush so much. As soon as they looked up, they saw the prettiest girl in their department talking about something. The girl next to her, who had her arms crossed lazily, suddenly leaned over and listened patiently. From the senior's point of view, she saw Bei Yunj curl her lips and murmur in a low voice. In an instant, the senior's ears turned red. Wang Guanchen's expression became even uglier. He never thought that the attention that had been on him would be snatched away by a girl. This time, the department plans to cooperate with the other 8 universities in Beichuan for the competition. If you want to participate, you can sign up with me. After Professor Pan finished speaking, he heard the sound of the boys playing games below the stage. He couldn't help but purse his lips. Chapter 1307. The others couldn't help but frown when they saw that there were boys in the department who didn't give Professor Pan face. The boys in the department had always thought that Professor Pan was biased towards girls, but in fact, Professor Pan was never biased towards boys. From elementary school to high school, most teachers would focus on boys. They thought that boys matured later but had more potential than girls. However, they forgot that most of the top students in the class were girls. Even the highest scorer in the computer science college entrance exam was a girl. Professor Pan had been teaching for decades and had witnessed the growth of 2 generations. He also loved to passionately talk about how girls should be independent and have freedom of thought in class. However, Professor Pan's educational philosophy remained the same until this year's faculty quiz. Because the top 4 were all girls, it caused many male students to explode with anger. They thought that Professor Pan was biased towards girls and didn't care about the results of the boys. Therefore, when Wang Guanchen transferred to the department, most of the boys naturally sided with Wang Guanchen. They were looking forward to Wang Guanchen torturing this conservative female professor and letting everyone know that the best in the department were the boys. If you don't want to listen or don't want to participate in the competition, you can leave. Professor Pan held the mouse and said calmly without looking up. Hearing this, Wang Guanchen sneered, then straightened up and suddenly started to operate the computer in the back row. A few minutes later, the computer screen on the stage suddenly turned blue and even the slides went black. Professor Pan was stunned and quickly tried to restore the computer program. However, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't do it. The boys in the back row saw Professor Pan on the stage like a headless fly and they all laughed as if they had vented their anger. Professor Pan, we're still waiting for you to speak. Yeah, Professor, don't waste everyone's time. After saying this, there were also some boys who couldn't stand it but didn't want to have any interaction with this group of people. As for Wang Guanchen, he looked at his masterpiece on the stage and crossed his arms. He raised the corner of his mouth and looked down at this scene condescendingly. No one had ever been able to restore the system that he had broken. Suddenly, before anyone could react, someone in the front row asked leisurely, Professor Pan, why don't you use my computer to continue? After Professor Pan came back to his senses, he handed his USB drive to Bei Yunj and said worriedly, this computer seems to have been infected by a virus. If you use my USB drive, will your computer also? No. Bei Yunj took the USB flash drive and inserted it without any hesitation. Seeing this, Wang Guanchen's lips curled into a sneer. From the looks of it, this top scorer from the physics department was also brainless. Professor Pan's USB drive carried a virus. Once it was connected to another computer, the system would immediately crash. Wang Guanchen had a look of understanding on his face as he waited for Bei Yunj to make a fool of herself in the front row. However, he did not expect that after 1 or 2 minutes, he would discover that there was nothing wrong with Bei Yunj's computer. How could this be? His face darkened as he continued to operate the keyboard. He planned to hack into Bei Yunj's computer again. However, when Wang Guanchen was attacking Bai Yunji's system, he did not realize that Bai Yunji was aware of his actions. Bai Yunji, you seem to have been infected by a virus. The face of the department belle changed. Wang Guanchen, who was sitting in the back seat, pursed his lips. However, before he could laugh, he heard Bai Yunji chuckle softly. She smirked and said unhurriedly, "Is that so? Not bad, there are still people who like to court death in my hands." Chapter 1308. Before the others could react, Bai Yunji's fingers moved across the keyboard at lightning speed. However, her expression was still cold and indifferent. At the same time, the screen of Wang Guanchen's computer in the back row suddenly turned blue. Wang Guanchen's heart skipped a beat. Before he could come back to his senses and try to salvage the situation, the startup sound from the computer suddenly became louder. Immediately after, the internal components of the computer seemed to be unable to withstand the high-voltage drive. In less than 30 seconds, it directly collapsed and turned black. Wang Guanchen was not the only one who was shocked. Everyone was shocked by the sound and could not react for a long time. "Crap, what's happening?" someone asked. "Whose computer exploded? It can't be. Is there such a trashy computer in this day and age? Which brand is it? Let me see. It seems to be Wang Guanchen's computer." Everyone's discussion stopped. After hearing this, Wang Guanchen's face turned extremely black. He subconsciously tightened his grip on the mouse and his knuckles turned white. Just now, someone had hacked into his system? Wang Guanchen looked up and happened to meet Bai Yunji's casual gaze. He saw the other party snort softly and then turn around. It was very obvious, this person did not take him seriously at all. After a moment of panic, Wang Guanchen felt an extreme sense of humiliation. However, was the person who had just counterattacked his system really Bai Yunji? Wasn't she a physics student? How could she do this? Even the top computer experts of Confederation 191 could not directly disable a computer in a few minutes. Furthermore, this was a top-notch computer that he had specially customized. Wang Guanchen felt as if a fishbone was stuck in his throat and his entire body stiffened. This was because he did not even know when the other party had hacked into his computer. However, not only did the other party counterattack his system, but she also directly disabled his computer. Not long after, a few of the boys who were still playing games suddenly felt their internet connection lag, and immediately went offline. Crap! The school's network exploded. The boys widened their eyes. What's happening? My data is also lagging. Soon after, the boys who were playing games realized that no matter how they tried, they could not log into the game. They were so angry that their faces turned green. "Professor Pan, you can start now." Bai Yunji placed the computer on the podium and passed the mouse to Professor Pan. Wang Guanchen's strongest feeling was, Bai Yunji was the reason why these people were suddenly disconnected from the game. Crazy. How is that possible? Wang Guanchen muttered to himself, denying his own thoughts. Impossible. That was impossible. How could this be done by a woman? However, the computer that had been burned internally was placed in front of him at this moment. He had no choice but to face this fact with his scalp numb. Bai Yunji from the physics department was definitely not a pushover. After the meeting, Wang Guanchen passed by Bai Yunji with his broken computer. He unconsciously tightened his grip on the laptop. Just when he thought that Bai Yunji would not speak, he heard Bai Yunji ask casually, "I heard that you have a problem with me." This was the first time that Wang Guanchen had been in such close contact with Bai Yunji. He could even see the coldness in her eyes and the pressure she was giving off. Before he could say anything, Bai Yunji reached out and patted the laptop he was holding. Her lips curled into a playful smile. "You can look for me. If you drag anyone else into this, it won't be the computer that will be disabled. Wang Guanchen suddenly felt a chill down his spine. He knew that Bei Yunj was talking about him messing with Professor Pan. Chapter 1309. Wang Guanchen felt a chill run down his spine when Bei Yunj stared at him with a faint smile. She really did it. After Bei Yunj left, Wang Guanchen finally came to his senses. Then, he immediately made an international call. The other party picked up. "Why are you calling me at this time?" Wang Huiying said impatiently. Wang Guanchen's expression was ugly, but he asked almost urgently, "Sister, do you know anyone from Yunqing?" He didn't believe that there was someone more powerful than Confederation 191 in Yunqing University. "Nonsense, how could I?" Halfway through her sentence, Wang Huiying seemed to have remembered something bad, and her face turned livid. "What's wrong? What happened to you?" Wang Guanchen gritted his teeth, his eyes full of unwillingness. "Nothing happened. I'm enrolled in Yunqing University, but I'm afraid of offending someone I shouldn't." Wang Huiying laughed out loud and said expressionlessly, "You're a probationary member of Confederation 191. Are you afraid of a group of inexperienced students?" She changed the topic. Wang Huiying gritted her teeth. "However, I should remind you that there is indeed someone you can't afford to offend in Yunqing. It's very likely that she's in the same school and major as you." "The same major?" Wang Guanchen frowned unconsciously. "Shouldn't she be in the physics department?" "Half a year ago, someone from Yunqing participated in our Confederation 191's training camp, and she won first place." Wang Huiying's eyes were gloomy, and her voice was as cold as ice. She took a deep breath. "I've asked my friend. She's developing in the computer field in Yunqing. She won first place in Confederation 191. Wang Guanchen asked in disbelief, and then he remembered the previous rumor. At the beginning of this year, a very young girl from Country A came. She was a dark horse from Training Camp 191, and she crushed Wang Huiying to the ground. So this person who even crushed a top genius like Wang Huiying was actually from Yunqing. But he couldn't figure it out. Since she had this ability, why did she continue to study in university? Wouldn't she grow faster if she went directly to the laboratory and was fed top resources by the capital or the country? Wang Guanchen hesitated for a moment but quickly dismissed the idea that Bei Yunj was the person Wang Huiying was talking about. Bei Yunj could beat Wang Huiying. What a joke. Bei Yunj was several years younger than Wang Huiying. What's wrong? As a member of the Wang family, you can't even compare to a student of Yun University. Wang Huiying's tone was sarcastic. Wang Guanchen clenched her fists and gritted her teeth. She's just a physics student. I don't know where she learned this unorthodox method. She hacked my computer. Trash, you're a disgrace to me. Wang Huiying coldly rebuked. Wang Guanchen did not dare to refute her. Wang Huiying doesn't know what she has done to the people in Yunqing. She suppresses her anger and says, I have a seminar in Yunqing in a few days. I want to see with my own eyes how you earn back the Wang family's dignity. Do you understand? Wang Guanchen's expression instantly brightened and he became excited. I understand, sister. As long as Wang Huiying came, no matter how arrogant that person from the physics department was, he could only be trampled on. After hanging up the phone, Wang Guanchen looked at the computer and sneered. He threw it into the trash can. The gala at Yun University was 2 days away. She didn't know where Jasmine got the news, but Bei Yunj suddenly received all kinds of dresses, accessories, and daily clothes from Jasmine's father. Chapter 1310. Bei Yunj had always been resistant to receiving gifts from her parents, but if she returned it, Jasmine would probably start to be sensitive and sad again. Therefore, Bei Yunj could only give Higgins some shares in return. Jasmine's father was shocked and thought that Bei Yunj wanted to buy their family business. Even the mild-tempered Shang Yen almost lost his composure when he found out that Bei Yunj had casually given him shares. There was no one else who was more prodigal than this person. In the rehearsal hall. Is this a Gus gown? Song Yao froze. Gus was the #1 fashion company in our nation, and the price of their gowns was famous for their sky-high prices. An ordinary custom-made gown cost at least 200,000 yuan, while high-end custom-made gowns cost millions. Bei Yunj glanced at the gown on the table, but even Lu Yuanci and Chu Zhixing picked up their suits instinctively when they heard Gus. They did not dare to let the dust on the table get on the clothes. No way, Master Pei. You're borrowing Gus for a school party. Lu Yuanci was in disbelief. I didn't borrow it. Bei Yunj frowned. At the thought of Jasmine's family sending her clothes and accessories every month as if they were going bankrupt, she felt a little impatient. You bought it. Chu Zhixing was also shocked. Master Pei, this gown costs at least 200,000 yuan. Only Song Yao felt that something was wrong with the gown in her hand. She had seen Yu Manran borrow Gus's high-end custom-made gown before. The fabric and craftsmanship were amazing. It was said that a high-end custom-made gown required 700 hours of embroidery alone, so it was not unreasonable for the gown to be so expensive. However, the gowns Bei Yunj placed here were not inferior to Yu Manran's high-end custom-made gown at all. In fact, the craftsmanship was even more complicated and exquisite. Yunj, are these high-end custom-made gowns? Song Yao asked. Are you kidding me? Master Pei, you can't waste money like this even if you're rich. Gus's high-end custom-made gown costs at least 7 million yuan. Lu Yuanci's scalp turned numb. Although their Lu family was rich, other than important occasions, the women in the family would not burn money to wear Gus's high-end custom-made gowns. Besides, Gus's high-end custom-made gowns were only available to top members. Most people had a price but no supply. But, Song Yao wanted to say something but hesitated. Is it really not? Even though she had never seen these two pieces of jewelry in the show before. You don't like it? Bei Yunj put her phone back in her pocket. No. Song shook her head immediately. This gown was the most beautiful gown that she had worn before. Master Pei, I can't afford to return this gift of yours. Lu Yuanci wondered if he should get Bei Yunj to go to his company to choose a suite. Bei Yunj laughed lazily. I won't say much. A father's love is silent. Speechless was speechless, in the venue. The Bei Yunj's WTO wear, dress. Where to, I've seen this dress before. It's worth more than 100,000 yuan. The girls were extremely excited. Qin Youjiao glanced at Qing Zihuai, who was not far away, and said to them with a smile, it's good that you don't mind. Apart from the dancers, Qin Youjiao and Yu Ling had prepared their own gowns. Qin Youjiao had spent more than 1 million yuan to prepare a custom-made WTO gown, while Yu Ling had a Gus gown that cost more than 500,000 yuan. It seems like Miss Qin is planning to outshine everyone. Yu Ling could not hide her jealousy towards Qin Youjiao. Even though Qin Youjiao had left the Qin family, she could still buy a gown that cost more than 1 million yuan. And this gown of hers was given to her by Fu Yan for free. Chapter 13:11. Elder young miss was the elder young miss after all. She was different from an ordinary commoner like her. Yu Ling adjusted the frozen expression on her face and made up her mind to get Fu Yan back. How can that be? This gown isn't that expensive. A dark look flashed past Qin Youjiao's eyes as she said with a smile. Originally, Qin Youjiao had planned to spend a lot of money to buy a custom-made high-end brand that she often used to steal the limelight. In the end, because she was chased out of the Chin family, 4 big brands cancelled her membership and she could only wear WQ's custom-made gown now. Fortunately, WQ had developed well in the past few years. She heard that they were applying for advanced custom-made gowns and certification by the union, so it was not considered bad. A gown that's close to $1,000,000 is almost comparable to a custom-made gown. Yo Jiao, you're too humble. Yu Ling said with a smile, her eyes filled with mockery. Some people won't spend so much money to buy a gown, such as Song Yao, who still has to repay her debts. After the Song Corporation went bankrupt, Mrs. Song had been making up for the Song Corporation's debts. Later, even when Song Yao entered the entertainment industry, all the money she earned was used to repay her debts. $1,000,000 gown. How could Song Yao have the right to dream about it? At this thought, Yu Ling's jealous and gloomy mood calmed down. It was not that no one was in a worse state than her. Yu Ling smirked. The gala was about to start and the students below the stage were also excited. Because this year's University Gala was more exciting than before. After all, not only was there Qin Yojiao from the International Musicians Association among the freshmen this year, there was also Song Yao, a popular starlet. It was very exciting. Without anyone noticing, 2 more people appeared in the front row. Will Gu Er see me sitting so close? Lin Longjun was dressed tightly, but there was a hint of a smile in her voice. Beside her, Professor Pan pouted. You used to be the head of a branch of Yun University. Why are you still hiding when you're entering the school? I don't want to affect Gu Er. Professor Pan's tone was envious. You're the luckiest in our generation to have such a beautiful and smart granddaughter. I think she'll be able to bring glory to the country in the future. Lin Longjun was silent for a moment. I'd rather she be more ordinary and not have to work so hard and bear so much pressure. You don't know how lucky you are. Lin Longjun shook her head and chuckled. Soon, the performance. Yun University's performances were all very unique, especially the performances brought by the art branch. It was refreshing. Half an hour later, everyone was looking forward to the last few performances with great interest. Qin Yojiao and Yu Ling were the finale. Even though they had already performed more than 10 acts before, when Qin Yojiao and the rest appeared, the audience still cheered loudly. So beautiful. Why are they all dressed like princesses? Are you stupid? Qin Yojiao was wearing a custom-made gown from WQ, and the price was almost as expensive as a high-end gown. Yu Ling's Gus didn't seem to be a seasonal gown, but the cheapest Gus was at least 200,000 yuan. F***ck, these 2 are here to suppress everyone. Don't talk about it anymore. I just checked. The dancers' dresses cost more than 100,000 yuan. Miss Qin is still the center of attention. Seeing that her limelight had been completely stolen by Qin Yojiao, Yu Ling's expression did not look too good, but she could only force a smile. At this time, the person in charge of Qin Yojiao's stage play reluctantly went backstage to remind Bei Yunji's team to get ready for the stage. When he looked up and saw the 3 of them after changing, he was almost stunned on the spot. Were they acting out a sniper team from the aristocratic era of the last century? Chapter 13-12. Chu Zhixing and Lu Yuanxi were wearing black suits that accentuated their figures. One was cold and noble, while the other was elegant and modest. On the other hand, Song Yao, who was clutching her chest awkwardly, was wearing a light grayish-blue waist-length dress. The fluffy hem of the dress hung down with textured folds, and the golden blue scales and gems and pearls made this dress look elegant and dreamy. The person in charge blushed inexplicably and started to stutter. Why, you're up next. You can get ready. Where's Bei Yunji? Here. Bei Yunji's lazy voice sounded as her slender fingers gently lifted the champagne-colored curtain. What entered her eyes was, the girl was wearing a red satin high-slit gown. Her aura was languid and seductive. Her skin was cold and fair and her black hair was casually tied up. There were a few strands of hair loosened by her ears and hung by her slender neck. This waistline and long legs were simply a sculpture with a golden ratio. The boys held their breaths and stood rooted to the ground in a daze. Okay, I got it. Bei Yunj walked over. As the high slit of her dress swayed, her snow-white long legs made people's hearts race. The boys looked away instinctively and coughed. They did not dare to look at Bei Yunj anymore. Of course, they knew that Bei Yunj was good-looking and could not even ignore the charm in her eyes. However, that was because she was reserved and under her sharpness. However, once she became serious, no one would survive this visual feast. Let's wait outside. Lu Yunci grabbed one in each hand and dragged the other two out. Song Yao could not help but feel nervous when Bei Yunj stared at her with a faint smile. Yunj, if you look at me like this, I'll be nervous on stage. This gaze that could kill both men and women should not be smiling and flirting with people like this. Bei Yunj was speechless. Soon. Bei Yunj was outside the door, wandering in an empty corridor. However, she did not expect someone to suddenly grab her wrist and pull her to another corner. Bei Yunj's eyes had just turned cold when she suddenly smelled a cold and familiar scent on the other party. She leaned against the wall and smiled. It's cold, brother. Only then did the man realize that Bei Yunj was wearing a red dress with a hollow back. He didn't have time to bring the girl to his side. Suddenly, Bei Yunj pushed him against the wall and pinned him down. Did anyone see you when you came? Bei Yunj's question sounded as if they were having an affair, which made the man, who felt that he was being pressed down, raise his eyebrows. But in fact, Bei Yunj knew very well that this man's looks would attract a lot of attention once he entered the school. What's wrong? Can't I show my face? The man casually leaned against the wall and sneered. His warm and cool fingertips were caressing her smooth back in the midst of chaos. Bei Yunj couldn't help but shudder. No. Bei Yunj forced herself to calm down. When the man saw the girl's expressionless face, he felt that the girl was not as clingy as before. A short while later, Bei Yunj heard the man ponder for a moment before he said leisurely, "She likes the new and hates the old." That's pretty good. Without waiting for Bei Yunj to explain, the man suddenly bent down, wrapped his arm around the girl's slender waist, and leaned closer. Washidu's low and sexy voice burned her ears. Yun, did I serve you for nothing? Washidu, this is school. Bei Yunj was not intimidated by this sentence. Just as expected. The moment she looked up, she saw the man leaning against the wall lazily, staring straight at her. Chapter 13:13. A few seconds later. Bei Yunj reached out and tugged at the hem of the man's suit jacket. Restrain yourself a little. When the man heard this, he laughed softly, as if he was asking her seriously, but even his peach blossom eyes were seductive. Yun, how should I restrain myself? Bei Yunj almost couldn't hold it in when she was stared at by such a fixed gaze. After coming back to her senses, she said, "We're in public. Be careful." The man leaned lazily against the wall and raised his eyebrows slightly. Soon, his slender and well-defined fingers casually unbuttoned his suit jacket. It was clearly an extremely ordinary action, but the man made her blush and her heart race. Coupled with his bewitching gaze, he was simply lustful. He opened his arms towards Bei Yunj and curled his lips lightly, looking as if he was at her mercy. Then, Yun, do you want to hug me? Bei Yunj was extremely bewitched by the man's fixed gaze. Just as she reached out her hand unconsciously, she suddenly heard other voices around her. However, Before Bei Yunj could retract her hand, the man suddenly grabbed her wrist and pulled her into his arms. Bei Yunj froze for a few seconds. She slowly turned her head and saw the person in charge looking at Bei Yunj in horror as she pinned the man whose face could not be seen clearly against the corner of the wall. However, surprisingly, the person who was being pinned down seemed to be in a good mood. The man seemed to be whispering to Bei Yunj with a smile, "Yun, be gentle with me." I didn't see anything." The person in charge felt that he had seen something he shouldn't have. Bei Yunj, Tsing-su saw that when the man came out, even his white shirt was wrinkled and there seemed to be a faint lipstick mark on his chest. The man's posture was casual, but he gave off the vibe of a refined scum. He looked as if he had just come out after doing something that made his face blush and his heart race. "Master Du, where did your tie go?" After Tsing-su asked, the man glanced at him coldly and he suddenly sobered up. He wanted to strangle himself to death. Other than Miss Pei, who else had the ability to take away Master Du's tie? On the stage, Yuling's stage play coupled with Song Yao's cello made the audience intoxicated. They were even more obsessed with the beauty of the artistic girl on stage. As expected of a place where beauties gathered. The moment Qin Yojiao came out, there was already a situation where she was the center of attention. At this moment, someone had taken a video of Qin Yojiao, who was as beautiful as a fairy, instantly became popular online. Hashtag Qin Yojiao Yun performance hashtag Qin Yojiao cello hashtag these two terms also slowly became trending. However, if a discerning person observed carefully, they would realize that the trending topic this time had been premeditated for a long time. Dozens of marketing accounts had entries almost at the same time, and even included Qin Yu's name, mocking the Qin family's real young lady for not having any artistic cells. 666, is this a game for the rich? The dancers are wearing WQ's dress. Oh my god. Even the big shots in Yun City wouldn't casually buy a gown that costs millions, right? After all, the gown is only worn once. My Jiaoye is too pretty. She's really a princess on the run. A gown costs millions. Even if she's not the Qin family's biological daughter, a princess is a princess. A pheasant isn't worthy of carrying the princess's shoes, dog head, at the same time. Qin Yojiao's performance had already ended. The enthusiastic reaction below the stage made the corners of her lips curl up, knowing that she had already won. Chapter 13-14. After leaving the stage, Qin Yojiao was surrounded by everyone. Yojiao, so you prepared such a big surprise. This dress is too beautiful. The song is also nice. It's actually an original. No wonder she's a member of the International Musicians Association. Everyone's eyes landed on Qin Yojiao. Behind her, Yuling's smile was a little stiff and her expression was dark. Even when Song Yao was still the elder young miss of the Song family, she had never been ignored like this. I'm just throwing a brick to attract Jade. Yunja's performance next should be more worth looking forward to. Qin Yojiao said casually, but a cold glint flashed past her eyes. I heard that they also arranged their own songs. They should be very good too. Yojiao is too humble. It's impossible for her to compare to you. You're the only member of the International Musicians Association in the country. The people below the stage fought to please Qin Yojiao. After all, it could be seen from this gown that even without the Qin family, Qin Yojiao was someone who lived in flowers and applause. Qin Yojiao sat in the first row and turned on her phone. She scrolled to her trending topic and the corners of her lips curled up slightly. This time, no matter what Bei Yunj wanted to use to fight with her, she would trample it into the ground and never be able to raise her head. It might even become the shame of her life. At this thought, Qin Yojiao glanced at the people who were recording behind and the corners of her lips curled up slightly. Soon, Qing Zihuai walked over and took off his suit jacket gentlemanly, draping it over Qin Youjiao. It also caused a commotion below the stage. Not long after, the last program started and the spotlight dimmed. Song Yao and the rest were ready to go on stage. Was Master Pei captured by aliens? Why isn't she here yet? Lu Yuanxi tugged at his tie in frustration, seeing that Bai Yunj was still not here. You guys go first. Song Yao was about to ask Lu Yuanxi and Chu Zhixing to go first. Fortunately, the person they were looking for appeared in the next moment. I'm here. However, when Pei Yunj appeared, the few of them glanced at her situation and their eyelids twitched. Master Pei, I understand that you're young and impetuous, but you should take care of your body, right? He looked over. Bai Yunj's black hair, which had been neatly tied up, was now in a mess. Her lipstick had also been smeared across the side of her face. Her gaze was cold, but the corners of her eyes were still slightly red. At the mention of this, Bai Yunj really wanted to lock up a certain shameless man in a men's college. In the long corridor backstage, Bai Yunj had originally thought that Huashidu would more or less feel a little apologetic after doing something disgraceful, so she had no qualms about messing with him. She pulled the man's tie and wrinkled his neatly ironed white shirt. He wouldn't let himself be at a disadvantage. Unexpectedly, just as Bai Yunj finished tugging at the man's tie, she heard Huashidu suddenly laugh softly. The next moment, she was pressed against the wall by him. She even said that what she did was not bullying. He was teaching her how to bully him next time. Hence, Pei Yunj proudly tied her hands with the tie she had pulled off herself and placed it behind her back. She had no choice but to listen to this dog of a man whispering lewd words in her ear. Until she could not drag it on any longer. Bai Yunj could only numbly say a lot of things that dog of a man liked to hear. She even agreed to Huashidu's crazy request. Only then did she manage to escape. Why are you still holding the tie? After asking, the three of them looked at Bai Yunj's hand. There were still red marks on her slender and fair forearm. Bai Yunj was speechless. Huashidu, you're gone. Chapter 13-15. Bai Yunj casually wrapped his tie and threw it to the person in charge. Before he left, he added, "Keep it for me." 2 minutes later. Under the suggestion, they hurriedly changed their makeup. Everyone saw the spotlight turn on and Lu Yuanxi and Chu Zhixing, who were dressed in suits and leather shoes, suddenly appeared on stage. One was holding a violin and the other was holding a saxophone. Chu Zhixing is so handsome. Our medical faculty is so promising. Brother Lu is indeed the top male couple of our top scholar. Help, I'll always love handsome guys in battle. Chu Zhixing pursed his lips. He was not used to this kind of popularity and could only glance coldly at Lu Yuanxi, who insisted on pulling him along to perform. Very quickly, everyone saw the lights on the stage turn on again. On the left was the elegant and cold Song Yao, who was wearing a grayish-blue chiffon dress. On the right, the person who was helping Song Yao walk up the stage had a very different aura. Bai Yunj's burgundy gown was full of aura. Her eyes were lazy and bright, especially the lipstick mark on her cheek that seemed to have been purged and her eyes that were always slightly upturned, making her look extremely bewitching. Is this also a battle makeup? Master Pei is breaking the rules. Someone could not help but say after regaining their senses. The rest of the people in the battle makeup looked cold and fragile. Only her raised eyebrows were very seductive, as if she was trying to steal their souls. This visual feast was so intense that no one in the audience survived. Am I watching the aristocratic banquet of the last century? Song Yao's identity can't be hidden anymore. Family members, 3 of them are injured in battle and 1 is a princess. What does this mean? F***CK. I've hit it again. Being injured in battle for the princess is my belief. Who doesn't say that Guiyao is real when they see this? The couple fans danced crazily. However, Lin Longjun, who was in front, felt that something was wrong. What was real? With the commotion below the stage, Bai Yunj and Song Yao looked at each other and the piano suddenly sounded. Guiyao's forehand duet is too amazing. Oh my god. This group of sharks is crazy, sharks are crazy. In fact, the audience below the stage did not focus on Bai Yunj's group this time. After all, this was usually the home ground of the art faculty. Therefore, from the moment Bai Yunj's group of 4 appeared on the stage to the beginning of their performance, all of them were stunning. Especially Bai Yunj's arrangement. Even if she didn't know much about music, she could tell that it was on a different level from Qin Youjiao's arrangement. Front row. Qin Youjiao, come with me for a while. The music professor glanced at the 4 people on the stage with an unpleasant expression before looking at Qin Youjiao. A dark look flashed across Qin Youjiao's eyes before she smiled at Qing Zihuai. Zihuai, I'll look for you later. All right. After Qing Zihuai nodded, Qin Youjiao walked out. The moment she reached the corridor, she heard the professor's question. How dare they use this song? The professor's face was livid. When has Yun University's public activities not attracted the attention of the media? Are they trying to drag Yun University down with them? Teacher, I've already told Yunj that it's best if she doesn't use other people's things. Qin Youjiao bit her lip. At the thought of the commotion Bai Yunj caused below the stage just now, she was also depressed. If you're caught stealing music scores, you'll definitely be punished and even expelled. The professor took a deep breath, but when Qin Youjiao heard this, the corners of her lips curled up slightly. Chapter 13-16. Teacher, I don't know what to do either. Qin Youjiao lowered her head, her eyes red as if she had suffered a lot of grievances. Seeing this, the professor remembered that Qin Youjiao had already left the Qin family and that the Qin family doted on that new elder young miss terribly. How could Qin Youjiao persuade that person? It's not your fault. It's not your fault anyway. She has to bear her own fault, the professor said coldly. He then said, okay, go back early. I'll tell the principal about this and let him prepare in advance. Okay. Qin Youjiao hummed in response. After watching the professor leave, the smile on her lips deepened. This time, she wanted to see how Bai Yunj would turn the tables around. Qin Youjiao returned to the front row. At this moment, all the performances had ended, but the enthusiasm below the stage had already explained everything. Bai Yunj's group's limelight overshadowed everyone else. Qin Youjiao, didn't you say that you had a way? In the end, you still want to see Song Yao and the rest act arrogantly in front of me? Yu Ling could not help gritting her teeth and asking. Why are you in such a hurry? Qin Youjiao frowned, not understanding what that person from the Fu family liked about Yu Ling. An idiot who was nothing but her face. Suddenly, a voice from behind interrupted them. Oh my god, Bai Yunj's group is too strong. My friends from the music department are all playing their groups recording crazily. They say that it's an original work by a god and they beat Qin Youjiao's group. Qin Youjiao's expression darkened immediately. Sigh, you can't say that. One is in art while the other is in style. Isn't it quite good? Hearing this, everyone could not ignore Qin Youjiao's $1 million gown. Why do I feel that Song Yao's group's gown is not worse than Qin Youjiao's group? Someone scratched his head. Everyone's discussion gradually disappeared. It was not until the end of the speech that the crowd suddenly started discussing again, as if something strange was spreading. 10 minutes later. Song Yao was removing her makeup backstage when she suddenly received a call from her manager. Sister, why are you calling me so late? Song Yao's voice was gentle, but the other party was extremely irritable. Why aren't you anxious at all? Do you know that the domestic fashion industry is about to ban you? 2 second-tier magazines even rejected your shoot. Song Yao frowned. What happened? You performed at school today. Where did the clothes come from? Song Yao could roughly guess what had happened and only said, a friend gave it to me. What kind of mess is that, sister? Song Yao's voice was cold and the manager knew that Song Yao was really angry. However, the manager was about to go crazy. Okay, I didn't choose my words carefully. But today, it's obvious that someone wants to mess with you. The article says that you're wearing a fake Gus outfit. Now, you're on the hot search list. You know, Gus is the ceiling of the industry. Other brands will make an example of you. If you don't handle it well, you'll be frozen out of the fashion industry. Song Yao's brows twitched. I understand. I'll do as I see fit. Do as you see fit. If it was before, I could ask you if you could ask Miss Pei for help. Now, she can't even protect herself, how can she still have the time to help you? What do you mean? What do you mean you can't even protect yourself? Song Yao's tone suddenly changed. The manager was speechless. He wasn't worried about his own matters, but he was worried about others. What kind of sin did she commit to have such a Buddhist artist? You don't know. Fong Shiyun forwarded Bai Yunji's performance video and pointed out that she plagiarized her work. Chapter 13-17. Fong Shiyun. Song Yao furrowed her eyebrows. I'll go take a look. After that, Song Yao hung up and scrolled through Fong Shiyun's social media account. Fong Shiyun v. For the sake of brother Yu, I didn't want to say it, but young lady, aren't you being too brazen? Kissing You on a Rainy Day is an original song that I wrote in 3 months. This is the passion of an original writer. Campus skinning, everyone, look at this original song from Yunda, isn't it similar to Fong Shiyun's Kiss You on a Rainy Day? Video, scrolling to the bottom of the comments section, they were all filled with curses. Film Emperor Qin's sister is only at this level. A Sanchi movie king can't teach his younger sister how to arrange music. It's really the tune of the Kissing You on a Rainy Day. She can't clear her name now, what's the use of doing well in the exams? If you have a bad character, you're trash. Smile, is this how Film Emperor Qin teaches his sister? My heart aches for my Yun being scammed by Senior's younger sister. Birds of a feather flock together. Isn't the person next door wearing a fake high-end dress her best friend? Why didn't anyone check the origins of Film Emperor Qin's sister's gown? Who knows, there might be a surprise as well. After reading it, Song Yao's expression became unreadable. About half an hour later, Song Yao walked to the changing room and made a call. After the call went through, the other party laughed. Why are you willing to contact me now? I thought you would never want to see me again. I need your help. Song Yao pursed her lips. You need my help. Song Su, who was far away in continent K, was stunned. This cousin of his looked as gentle as water, but deep down, she was unyielding and never bowed her head to anyone. Even if the Song family went bankrupt and was in debt, she, as the eldest daughter of the Song family, was not willing to accept any help from him. Yao Yao, Big Brother is willing to help you. Song Su's voice was gentle. However, there was no warmth in Song Yao's eyes. She only clenched her fists. I have a friend who was accused of plagiarism. Do you really believe that she didn't copy? I believe you. Song Yao's soft voice was filled with an unprecedented certainty. Seeing that the netizens were scolding Bai Yunji and Song Yao as street rats, Yu Ling finally heaved a sigh of relief. Soon, she used her main account, which had more than 100,000 followers, to post something. Fish and porridge, respect the original creator, respect the inheritor of traditional craftsmanship. Not long after, the big influencers in the fashion industry also reposted it and mocked Bai Yunj and Song Yao, but most of their attention was still on Song Yao. After all, this matter was related to the fashion industry and Song Yao was a public figure. Late at night, an online carnival about the crusade once again kicked off. Many people kept sending private messages to Song Yao, Qin Yu, and Qin Lang, photoshopping their photos and cursing crazily. However, Bai Yunj, who was helping out in Si Qingyan's laboratory, had been doing experiments the entire night and did not know about the bloody storm outside. 5:30 in the morning. The moment Si Qingyan woke up, he saw that Bai Yunj was still doing data research. She looked energetic and did not look like she had stayed up all night. Master Pai. You did it the whole night. Bai Yunj glanced at him expressionlessly. Otherwise. Not long after. After Bai Yunj finished her experiment, she was about to go out for breakfast when she suddenly realized that there were dozens of missed calls on her phone. They were all from Yu Manran and Song Yao. Bai Yunj was about to call back when Yu Manran called again. She had just picked up the call when she heard Yu Manran's words. Fong Shiyun, that little B***TCH, I'm going to skin her alive today. How dare she call me a thief and come to my goober's head. Chapter 13:18. Bai Yunj was speechless. What's wrong? Yu Manran did not expect the other party to suddenly call. Yunj. Why did you only pick up now? I was so anxious that I didn't sleep all night. Bai Yunj's eyebrows moved. My phone was on silent in the laboratory yesterday. Did something happen? I see. After Yu Manran regained his senses, he immediately gritted his teeth and said, Yunj, do you know what that B***TCH Fong Shiyun is up to? She actually said online that you plagiarized her song, Heavenly Kiss You. I'm so angry. This little B***TCH has the cheek to say that you plagiarized. That song of hers was originally a copy of your Spring Night Banquet. She used the fact that it's difficult to defend her rights in the country to claim that she's the most talented woman. Fong Shiyun. Bai Yunj thought for a moment and remembered that she had seen this person before. At her brother's party. Yunj, how about this? I'll go and find my brother to hide that woman and get someone to suppress the news. Yu Manran took a deep breath and said. However, Bai Yunj walked towards the canteen. Her tone was casual, but it was cold. Why are you suppressing the news? Do I look like I'm here for charity? Interesting. She was trying to cause trouble for her. Ha! Yu Manran did not understand what Bai Yunj meant. There's no hurry. It's fine as long as it doesn't implicate anyone else. After Bai Yunj finished speaking, Yu Manran frowned and slowly told Bai Yunj something. Yunj, Song Yao was accused of wearing a fake Gus Haute Couture. Currently, someone is investigating what brand of gown you wore that day. But don't worry, I've already asked my brother to settle this matter. He definitely won't. Bai Yunj stopped in her tracks and suddenly laughed ambiguously. There's no need to let Yu Hanran handle it. Someone will settle this matter. There were endless criticisms online. Song Yao's manager was even called by the higher-ups to ask Song Yao to apologize at the press conference. They were forcing Song Yao to admit it under the pressure of public opinion. Song Yao, don't you know how much trouble you've caused the company? In the past, you had Big Sister Man's protection, so no one cared about you. But you actually dared to wear fake high-end clothing in school. Are you trying to send all our artistes to a dead end? The director reprimanded Song Yao arrogantly. The manager pursed her lips. Director, Yao Yao is still young. If you're young, you should be obedient and not play tricks all day long. First, you seduced Sister Qin Yu, then you seduced our sister Man. The director had long felt threatened by Song Yao and her manager. After all, one of the artistes under her happened to have the same type as Song Yao. Besides, Song Yao was born with this personality. Her eyes were pure and gentle, full of spirituality. This type of artist was born to be popular. Think about it carefully. You can either apologize obediently or pay the penalty of 10 million yuan and get out of the company now. The director said coldly. Song Yao was silent for a while before she suddenly smiled and said, Director Wang, are you playing word games with me? Did I sign with the company to apologize? Song Yao's manager felt inexplicably proud. Although her Yao Mei was not the most popular, she was the most educated in the company. After all, he was a top student in the philosophy department of Yun University. Song Yao. Do you think I can't cure? The director was furious. Before he could finish speaking, the landline suddenly rang. After the manager answered the call, she said hesitantly, Hao Yao, President Ming wants you to go to his office. The director laughed coldly. Song Yao, I want to see how arrogant you can be. Chapter 13-19. The director sneered and walked out arrogantly. However, the manager strangely felt that President Ming's attitude just now seemed to be very happy. Was this an illusion? Let's go. Song Yao did not care about this. If the company really wanted to freeze her, she would study hard and talk about other things in the future. However, the moment they reached the top floor, Song Yao heard the director scolding her for her arrogant behavior. Wearing fake haute couture. Isn't she obviously sending her head to the fashion industry? She didn't know if she wanted to go crazy or drag the entire company down with her. President Ming, a person like Song Yao is a scourge if she stays in the company. We must make her pay the price. Before she could finish speaking, President Ming walked forward quickly, his face beaming. Yao Yao, have you been under a lot of pressure recently? Do you feel any discomfort? If you're too busy, we should take less commercials and variety shows. Young people's health is more important. Hearing this, the atmosphere gradually turned strange. The manager was speechless. What was going on? Didn't the boss seem to have gone crazy last night and wanted to scold Song Yao? Boss, you want to talk to me about terminating the contract, right? With that said, President Ming immediately said, Yao Yao, I take care of you like my daughter. How can you want to terminate the contract? Seeing President Ming about to cry, Song Yao had goosebumps all over her body. The director was even more dumbfounded. President Ming, what's wrong with you? About Song Yao wearing fake haute couture yesterday, did you? Director Wang, watch your words. What do you mean by fake haute couture? The Gus headquarters personally called to admit that it's a super seasonal haute couture. How can it be fake? President Ming reprimanded. The director's face paled. What? How is this possible? Not only the director, even Song Yao and her manager were dumbfounded. Yao Yao, why didn't you explain to me? The manager was stunned. Song Yao was speechless. I didn't even know that this was a super seasonal Gus couture. Would you believe me? Yao Yao, you're so capable. The manager looked excited. Song Yao was speechless. At the same time, the people on the internet were still cursing crazily, joking that Song Yao was the #1 fake haute couture princess. And before this, someone had already posted a post. Fandom debauchee, this melon is real. The company of a certain highly educated and popular starlet who had been in trouble recently had a meeting and had decided to give up on her. It couldn't be helped. The influence of wearing fake haute couture was too bad. If they were banned by the fashion industry, even the company would be affected if they borrowed haute couture in the future. Therefore, in these 3 days, if the popular starlet doesn't come out to apologize, she will face a huge compensation. Seeing this, the crowd became excited. Finally, Green Tea Song is being treated. I hope Green Tea Song's bootlickers follow her shameless master out of the fandom. If you can't afford to wear high-end clothes, then don't wear them. I don't understand the vanity of female celebrities. Qin Youjiao is the elder young miss to begin with, what's there to compare? Carry away my Jiao. I advise Song Yao's fans not to flirt with the B** cheese first. TSK, that real daughter of Song Yao's might also be a fake haute couture, right? Let's look into it together. However, about half an hour later, everyone realized that something magical had happened. Gus headquarters actually took the initiative to follow Song Yao's social media account and even took the initiative to claim that gown. Gus headquarters, fighting for the princess is my faith to the death. Song Yao, Gus super seasonal haute couture gown, photo. The photo was of Song Yao's blurry campus stage photo. P.S. Okay, let's go out for breakfast. Chapter 13:20. Instantly. Everyone looked at this post, but no one was able to react. Especially those in the fashion industry who had defamed Song Yao at lightning speed. They were simply slapped in the face by this wave of actions. However, when they regained their senses, everyone exploded. They reposted and commented. What the F***ck? Gus actually borrowed a super seasonal haute couture gown. Since when can artistes in the entertainment industry receive such treatment? There seem to be only 3 artistes in our country who can successfully borrow a haute couture gown and get approved by the Gus headquarters. They are all ruthless characters in the industry. What kind of big shot backing does Song Yao have? She's too strong. Ha 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 ha, why are Qin Youjiao's fans so pitiful? They're showing off everywhere that Jiao Jiao is a princess in a million-yuan gown. The netizens aren't even worthy of carrying her shoes. In the end, the real Princess Gus is wearing a super seasonal haute couture gown. She's really killing several levels. Does her face hurt? This is my first time seeing such a simple and high-quality photo of Gus claiming it. It was actually claimed by the headquarters. According to the time difference, they should have claimed it as soon as they got to work. Ha 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 ha, I can see how anxious the Gus headquarters is. Daddy Gus really dotes on his sister, dog head. However, seeing these comments, Qin Youjiao's fans were unhappy and started to scold the passers-by crazily. A group of netizens who don't know anything other than talking nonsense. You only like to worry about nothing. My Youjiao is 21 years old and wearing a million-yuan gown. She's studying music at Yun University. Do you need to be jealous? If you're so free, come and carry my Youjiao's shoes. I won't carry her shoes. I'm not your brainless fan who likes to flatter people. I'm dying of laughter. I bought the million-yuan gown that Youjiao is wearing herself. Can Song Yao buy this haute couture herself first? Not long after the last comment went viral, to everyone's surprise, the brand's official account actually replied. Gus headquarters replied to Youjiao's little wife, she didn't buy it, but it was a gift. A gift? F***ck, Song Yao's connections are amazing. She gave her a super seasonal haute couture just like that. It's just a gown. How amazing is it? It's as if she can't afford it. This comment with a sour tone was quickly forwarded by a fashion influencer. I don't know if others can afford it, but you probably won't be able to afford it in this lifetime. The big shots in the industry have already given Song Yao's ultra-seasonal custom-made appraisal. The conservative price should be around 14 million yuan. Through this trending topic, the netizens were also shocked. It was as if they had entered a magical world. Are these the clothes that the female lead usually wears? This poor man is crying. However, there were also some people who tried to continue to blackmail her by buying expensive, high-end custom-made gowns. I'm speechless. I don't know what kind of twisted view of money they have. Are Song Yao's fans very proud to spend so much money on a gown? Don't you think that your master is a lackey of the capital and is bringing about a vicious influence on the public? Can Qin Yojiao's fans grow some brains? Advanced customization was not a profitable business for the fashion capital, and the profit was only 1% of the group. The annual high-end fashion show was not only to expand the brand, but also to protect the heritage of our nation's traditional craftsmanship. However, our country's traditional textile and embroidery techniques are also very good. It's just that they haven't been properly protected yet. The commenter above is right. Don't tell me you really think that the elder young miss can wear high-end gowns like Gus every day. Everyone, wake up. There are about 4,000 people in the world who buy haute couture, but there are only 200 regular customers. Chapter 13:21. I've learned something new. Even bystanders can be educated. Some countries really value traditional arts and crafts. I also hope that our country's traditional arts and crafts can flourish. Other aspects are getting better and better. Yes. The torch will be passed down forever and the country will prosper forever. However, Qin Yojiao's fans, who were already in battle mode, were still indignant. She didn't sign an endorsement or act as an ambassador. She's just an ordinary second-tier girl, yet she's wearing Gus. Who would believe that there's nothing going on? As a woman, I feel that it's very humiliating to have someone like her. I have a conspiracy theory. Previously, I said that Song Yao had good resources, but the top lady of Song Yao's company is Yu Manran. Even Yu Manran borrowed high-end clothes. What right does she have to be sent to Gus? I don't believe that Song Yao doesn't have a sugar daddy. Who knew? Qin Yojiao's fans were about to jump when Gus posted another post. Gus headquarters, Miss Pei, Rose, Gus commemorative high-end custom-made gown, the new work of the chief designer, Mr. Gao Meng. Just these 3 words showed how much importance Gus placed on this person. What was even more unexpected was that not only was the photo posted by Gus high in resolution, but they had also consciously cut off half of her face in the photo. This was probably the first time that Gus had claimed a photo that did not show her face. It also made the usually noble and cold Gus seem humble and heartbreaking. The bystanders were in an uproar. F*CK, I'm going to die. It was actually designed by old Mr. Gao Meng. Old Mr. Gao Meng has only designed commemorative gowns for 2 people in the past 10 years. One is the current queen of our nation's royal family, and the other is this person. My scalp is numb. What kind of F*king treatment does this person get? Is this really the young lady of the Qin family? Qin, you didn't receive such treatment at Gus, right? I'm willing to call the real young lady of the Qin family a face-slapping demon. However, Gus did not forget to Song Yao in the comments section. When will our sugar daddy be free to come to our nation? Song Yao, the netizens immediately flooded in. Gus, what's wrong with you? As the top one in the fashion industry, why are you suddenly so humble? Alright, not only did Gus prove that he has a sugar daddy, but he also casually hammered himself. Doghead, I love you so much. Can you ask your sugar daddy if I still have a chance? I don't want to work hard anymore. Song Yao, Qin Yojiao's fans, stop criticizing Song Yao. It's embarrassing just looking at her. So Billion God and Sister Sheikh RB. I cried. I'm speechless. Has everyone forgotten that the real daughter plagiarized? I'm dying of laughter. Until now, there's still no response to the plagiarism issue. Who's the one being embarrassed? To be able to be with such a morally corrupt person, it can be seen that Song Yao isn't a good person either. The trending searches were in an uproar. But not long after, another piece of information was revealed. The informant claimed to be an old acquaintance of Yuling. They were just nodding acquaintances, but he had always disliked Yuling's way of doing things. Hence, he posted an old photo of Yuling and claimed that this was the second time Yuling had worn this Gus gown. Therefore, Yuling was mocked by passers-by because she had just mentioned Song Yao and looked down on her for wearing Gus. Yuling could not stand these negative comments and immediately called Qin Yojiao for help. However, she did not expect to be blocked before she could finish. Qin Yojiao laughed coldly. Such a piece of trash still has the cheek to ask me for help. What should we do, Yojiao? The public opinion on Bei Yunj online seems to be gradually improving. Fang Shuyun's face was pale. Don't you have evidence? Now that you've posted it, it's also trending. What are you afraid of? Chapter 1322. Qin Yojiao's voice was unusually impatient, making Fang Shuyun not dare to say anything. The atmosphere was cold. At the thought of Bei Yunj and Song Yao wearing Gus haute couture, Qin Yojiao's expression was exceptionally ugly. From Qin Yojiao's point of view, it was obvious that those two pieces of haute couture were prepared for Bei Yunj by that person from the Hua family. At this thought, the jealousy in Qin Yojiao's heart could not be quelled. Fang Shuyun probed, "Must my evidence be sent up now?" Qin Yojiao asked sarcastically, "You don't dare to do it now." Fang Shuyun, "It's not bad that you're popular now, but if you're caught, do you think Qin Yu and the rest will let you off?" Fang Shuyun's face paled. "But didn't you say, so as long as you listen to me, nothing will happen to you?" With that said, Qin Yojiao picked up her bag and prepared to leave. "I'll give you half an hour to send it out immediately. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that Qin Yu won't come looking for you." Hearing this, Fang Shuyun immediately panicked. Qin Yu was famous for being protective. Even if she was popular now, her status in the industry was worlds apart from Qin Yu's. She could tell now that Qin Yojiao was clearly using her on purpose. Half an hour later, Fang Shuyun posted something online again. "Fang Shuyun, I didn't want to say much at first, but I've been privately messaged many times. This is my first draft. It's a record of 3 months, I hope Miss Pei can give me an explanation." Picture, picture, picture. After reading it, everyone had different comments. There's a way to clear the gown, but how can she clear the plagiarism? I advise some people not to be a bootlicker. A normal person has fans too. I'm vomiting. Song Yao's fans from next door actually have the cheek to bite Zhao Fan. No matter what, Qin Yu has never had a stain on him since he debuted, except for this younger sister. Did you notice that Qin Yu and Qin Lang didn't jump out to protect her this time? The two male leads they were talking about were extremely angry at this moment. Did someone in the company touch my account? Qin Yu's tone was not good and his handsome face appeared dark. Absolutely not. The manager was also very surprised. Why couldn't Qin Yu log into his account? But how could the company dare to control Qin Yu? The manager was glad that Qin Yu couldn't go up and didn't get involved in this mess. Over at Qin Lang's side, something similar was happening out of nowhere. It was as if someone didn't want them to speak. Song Yao was sitting in the classroom. As soon as someone called, she immediately answered the call. Song Su was surprised. After a moment of silence, he said, "You want me to manage Bei Yunj?" "Yes." Song Su laughed, adjusted his Bluetooth headset, and continued driving. "That's none of my business." "What do you mean?" Song Yao frowned. "I say, Yao Yao, are you treating your cousin as a tool?" Song Yao said nothing and Song Su continued, "Actually, I've seen her before and I quite like her. But silly Yao Yao, does she need me to meddle in other people's business? Song Su also comforted her, don't worry, she can solve this matter. Hearing Song Su say this, Song Yao suddenly remembered the relationship between Bai Yunj and the International Musicians Association, in the shooting gallery. Bai Yunj had just put down her bow when she received a call. We've investigated the matter. Recently, Fang Shiyun and Qin Youjiao have been very close. What do you want to do with these two people? Bai Yunj sneered, her tone casual and cold. If I don't give these two pieces of trash a surprise, how will they know to be obedient? P.S. Thank you for helping Master Pei. He's currently 4th in the monthly votes. Not bad. Chapter 1323. Hearing this, even the person on the other end of the line felt a chill run down his spine. He could feel the hostility in his words. At this moment, it was obvious that there was a team behind the way Bai Yunj was being defamed online. The netizens were in high spirits and even affected the Qin family's businesses. Until 8:30 p.m. Everyone suddenly realized that an overseas company account that had not posted for 5 years had moved. K&E law firm, according to the evidence provided by the International Musicians Association, hereinafter referred to as the International Musicians Association, Country A's singer, Fang Shiyun, has released her work Kiss You on a Rainy Day, in Country A. She has plagiarized Ms. Yun's work Spring Night Banquet. This action has seriously harmed Ms. Yun's legal rights and interests. Our law firm has accepted the special entrustment of the International Musicians Association. We will collect evidence and prepare a lawsuit according to the law. We will definitely pursue the legal responsibility of the infringer, Ms. Fang Shiyun. Wei Yuan Fang Shiyun, everyone was stunned when they saw the evidence posted by K.E. law firm. This was a death sentence. F***CK. Is Fang Shiyun shameless? She plagiarized Yuan and still has the cheek to accuse others of plagiarism? Why aren't the talented female fans stomping their feet? Let's see how you talented women become famous. Ha 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 ha, they actually hired KNE. Is God Yuan planning to strip Fang Shiyun of her underwear this time? I can't take it anymore. Plagiarize my God Yuan. Goodbye, Yun's plagiarism. Why don't you King go to heaven? Fang Shiyun, hashtag Fang Shiyun get out of the entertainment industry hashtag. No one expected the public opinion to reverse. Fang Shiyun had already become a street rat that everyone wanted to beat up. However, real heiresses did not have many fans, but Yuan was a real god with tens of millions of fans. Even some musicians who had not posted for hundreds of years came out to support Yun's rights. After that, Yun's fans immediately dug out that 14 of Fang Shiyun's 19 songs were suspected of plagiarism. Hashtag most likely plagiarizing Fang Shiyun hashtag this post was also pushed to the top of the trending searches by Yun's fans. Fang Shiyun's fans were so angry that they stomped their feet, but they could not beat Yun's fans next door. Everyone was horrified by the overwhelming combat power of Yuan fans. I don't believe that Fang Shiyun's plagiarism. Now that he's here, he's probably trying to ride on the popularity and get paid for it, right? Fang Shiyun's fans are really shameless. With just the popularity of your pig brain, God Yuan wants to freeload. God Yuan single-handedly raised you Man Ran and helped Qin Yu break through the bottleneck. Which celebrity doesn't crush that useless person from your family? If you want to, just do it. Why? Do you have to pick a date to mess with your plagiarist dog? However, God Yuan and Film Emperor Qin should have a good relationship. It's not strange for her to come. However, the matter of Film Emperor Qin's sister plagiarizing isn't fake. In that case, did Film Emperor Qin's sister plagiarize Yuan? After looking at the top of the hot search list, Fang Shiyun couldn't help but scream and directly throw her phone away. How could this be? Fong Shuyun's face turned ugly. When she saw her manager walking over, she immediately grabbed her and questioned her. Didn't you say it could be solved? Why would this matter be exposed? It was the company who said it. If this matter was exposed, Wei Yuan would not be able to kill her. After all, there were loopholes in the law that could be exploited. The manager's face turned pale. Sister Yun, this matter has blown up. There's news from the legal department that the other party is preparing to use our nation's law to sue us for infringement. Besides, the other party's lawyer is Yang Shuang from KNE. She has never lost any of her subsequent cases. Fong Shuyun's heart instantly turned cold. Chapter 1324. KE could be said to be the largest law firm in our nation, and Yang Shuang was the lawyer who made KE's opponents tremble and fear the most in recent years. However, even KNE did not expect Yang Shuang to take on such a small case. What do you mean? Will I lose if we go to court? Fong Shuyun's voice was sharp and she seemed a little crazy. Sister Yun, go and beg Wei Yuan. The legal department said that Yang Shuang is a very scary person. Not only will she make you spit out everything you've taken, she will also make you lose all the savings you've accumulated over the years. Is there no other way? No one can help me fight the lawsuit with her. Fong Shuyun kept scratching her head and asking. However, the moment she finished speaking, all she received was silence. It was only after her manager persuaded her to leave that Fong Shuyun, whose heart was dead, suddenly heard her phone ring. Her eyes lit up, thinking that it was Qin Youjiao, but she did not expect it to be an unknown number. However, when she answered the call, Fong Shuyun's face paled. Miss Fong, aren't you going to look at the messages on your phone? I took so many exciting photos of Miss Fong. Aren't you going to enjoy them together? Fong Shuyun's face paled and she quickly checked the messages she had received. They were all photos of her meeting with Qin Youjiao in the past few days. How did you? Fong Shuyun forced herself to calm down. Qin Youjiao and I are old classmates. What's wrong with meeting? Really? When Miss Fong and your old classmates meet, do you always like to discuss how to deal with the people you don't like? Fong Shuyun panicked. What are you talking about? I don't understand what you mean at all. However, the other party's attitude was cold. You don't understand. Then I'll post the recording online and see if everyone will understand. Wait. Fong Shuyun's heart immediately jumped to her throat. She gritted her teeth. What do you want? Miss Fong, the price is 20 million. The other party was blatantly extorting her, but at this moment, Fong Shuyun could not refuse. She made up her mind. Give me your account number. Miss Fong, you didn't do this alone. Don't make it too hard on yourself. The other party seemed to be giving her pointers. After hanging up the call, Fong Shuyun finally remembered that the culprit of all of this was Qin Youjiao. How could Qin Youjiao be left alone? At this thought, Fong Shuyun immediately called Qin Youjiao. Fong Shuyun, are you an idiot? You actually dared to give me. When you met me, someone took a picture and recorded our conversation. Qin Youjiao, we're in the same boat now. If you dare to get off the boat early, I'll definitely drag you down with me. Fong Shuyun threatened with a dark expression. You! Qin Youjiao, who was in the piano room, was furious. She never thought that she would be threatened one day. Qin Youjiao was so angry that her lungs hurt. What do you want? Plagiarism is a stupid thing you did. I can't help you with anything. Someone extorted 20 million from me. Transfer it to him first. Taking a deep breath, Qin Youjiao almost fainted from anger. Where would I get so much money? I don't care so much. When I go to court, I might lose even more. Qin Youjiao, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have been sued. Fong Shiyun said fiercely and hung up the phone. Qin Yojiao's heart was burning with anxiety. Afraid that Fong Shiyun would go all out, she asked her for her account and phone number. 20 minutes later. When Qin Yojiao saw the 20 million yuan transfer from an overseas bank, she gritted her teeth and braced herself to transfer the money to the receiving account. Just because the Qin family had wronged her in the past, she wanted to implicate everyone. Bei Yunj, since you refuse to admit that you plagiarized and refuse to give everyone an explanation, then don't join the Qin family. They used to be the best family, but now they couldn't reunite. Picture, she was talking about Bei Yunj, but the picture that Mrs. Qin posted was of the Qin couple, Qin Yojiao and Qin Yu. It was obvious that she was telling everyone online that Qin Yojiao was chased away because of Bei Yunj. She wanted to use public opinion to pressure Bei Yunj to leave the Qin family. P.S. Okay, Master Pei is going all out in the next round. Chapter 1326. When Qin Yojiao saw Mrs. Qin's post, the corners of her lips curled up slightly and she reposted Mrs. Qin's words. Qin Yojiao, everyone makes mistakes. Just change if you know your mistakes, rabbit. Mrs. Qin, I can't understand. At this moment, there were all sorts of comments. It's really the real young lady who plagiarized. She can't clear her name now. Mrs. Qin probably tolerated it for a long time and couldn't stand seeing her do evil. She sent her beloved child away. A certain real young lady is really narrow-minded. Anyway, I support Mrs. Qin to place righteousness before family. No, she's her daughter after all. Didn't you break off your relationship long ago? The real young lady is really pitiful. To be honest, isn't it funny that the real young lady is pitiful? It was clearly her and Song Yao who were on the trending searches, but in the end, my Jiao Jiao was mocked. You should bring Yo Jiao back as soon as possible. After all, you've raised her for so long. Since it's true that the real young lady plagiarized, why can she go into hiding? Come out and apologize to everyone, disgusting thing. Among them, there were even people who spoke carefully. To be honest, I don't really dare to eat the real young lady's melon. I keep remembering that I was slapped in the face. This time, she can't even turn the tables. She'll definitely be blamed. Could it be that Yun plagiarized her? I'm dying of laughter. On the internet, because of Mrs. Qin's words, the popularity rose. After all, who didn't like to watch a drama between wealthy families? As soon as Bei Yunj returned to school, she heard that the music department's professor was confronting the principal because of her plagiarism. Because she had tarnished the reputation of Yun University's music department, the professors unanimously asked Bei Yunj to drop out. Besides, because of the pressure of public opinion, Song Yao's situation was not good either. Although the company was protecting her, the negative impact of her and Bei Yunj's trending searches recently was too great. Even the local Film and Television Actors Association jointly requested that Song Yao take a break from acting for at least 2 years. Bei Yunj sat at the back of the classroom and scrolled up slowly, but her eyes gradually turned cold. Until Nya Yu sent a message. Boss, I'm ready. Can we start? Bei Yunj's lips curled up carelessly and replied to his message, 3 minutes later. Suddenly, someone reposted Mother Qin's post. International Musicians Association, thank you for your attention to Yun. At the same time, on behalf of our association member Yun, I officially send a lawyer's letter to Mrs. Qin, Ms. Tong Yueying. Since when did plagiarism exist when one borrowed another's work? Please delete the rumor and apologize to Ms. Yun. Otherwise, our association will reserve the right to pursue the matter according to law. Madam Qin, when they saw this statement, everyone read it once, then continued to read it for the third and fourth time before they reacted. Little question mark, do you have a lot of friends? I understand every single word of this statement, but why do they make me doubt my life when they are put together? This turn of events had caused the entire network to crash. Even the netizens and the social app were sent away. Many people were suddenly forced out of the application when they refreshed the page. They were still confused about what was going on. What was going on? The network exploded. But when he checked the signal, there was nothing wrong with it. Half an hour later, the internet crash had just been repaired, and a few topics related to YUN had already rushed to the top of the list. There was a dark red word beside it. Hashtag YUN herself borrows herself hashtag YUN hashtag. At this moment, a large number of onlookers were itching because they could not enter the topic. P.S. Good night. Chapter 1327. Strange. Why isn't it trending? Si Qingyan from the principal's office was also watching. The veins on the principal's forehead were about to pop out. Si Qingyan. Everyone is discussing important matters, yet you still have the time to look at the trending topics. Si Qingyan moved his eyelids and said leisurely, if you want to expel Bai Yunj, then there's no point for me to stay at Yun University. Si Qingyan continued to click on the trending topics in boredom. That's great. Our computing institute still wants her back. You. The principal was speechless. Professor C, aren't you too concerned about Bai Yunj? Although you're not much older than Bai Yunj, shouldn't you pay attention to your status? Someone said sarcastically. Another professor from the music department also said sternly, Principal. No matter what, Bai Yunj has brought too much influence to our Yun University's music faculty. I insist that Bai Yunj drop out. But until now, we haven't investigated clearly. What's there to investigate? Could it be that those music scores are fake? Bai Yunj did such a dirty thing in the Qin family. Suddenly, a voice sounded from outside the door. What did my granddaughter do in the Qin family to make the professors of the music department so unhappy? Everyone's expressions changed slightly. In the blink of an eye, they met Lin Longjuan's dark eyes and felt inexplicably guilty. Director Lin, Si Qingyan called out politely. What do you mean? Principal, I was just about to go overseas to research the northern virus in the name of Yun University, and you're going to expel my granddaughter? Lin Longjun questioned. The principal's eyelids twitched. Director Lin, you've misunderstood. How is this possible? Yesterday, when Lin Longjun came looking for them and said that she had agreed to go overseas to solve the problem of the northern virus with other researchers, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. After all, there was no one more suitable than Lin Longjun. Is Director Lin planning to return to Yun University? I didn't expect Director Bai Yunj to go to this extent for her granddaughter. The music professors usually liked Qin Youjiao the most and cherished talents. Of course, they couldn't stand Bai Yunj being protected by Lin Longjun. Principal Lin, although we are juniors, we also feel sorry for our students. For the sake of your granddaughter, is the reputation of all the students in the music department not important? Another professor said with certainty, if Director Lin thinks that we have wronged your granddaughter, why don't you prove it to us? If you're right, we'll apologize to your granddaughter immediately. What do you think? The professors of the music department looked at Dean Lin mockingly. Lin Longjuan's gaze was cold. Before she could speak, Si Qingyan, who had been frozen for a long time, suddenly smiled. Then, professors, you must apologize to Dean Lin and admit your mistakes. What do you mean? A few professors turned around and pointed at Si Qingyan. The International Musicians Association has responded. All the professors should be paying attention to the International Musicians Association, right? Si Qingyan's tone was mocking. There was only one reason why these professors were so close to Qin Youjiao. They could get to know people from the International Musicians Association through Qin Youjiao and even have a chance to enter the International Musicians Association. At this moment, several professors immediately took out their phones. Just as they refreshed the homepage, they saw that the International Musicians Association was trending. He clicked on it. It was the statement issued by the International Musicians Association an hour ago. The expressions of the professors changed. What is this? Seeing their expressions, the principal and the others could not help but be curious and clicked on the trending topic. Chapter 13:28. I can actually see the word explosive on the trending searches in my life. A young associate professor from the physics department could not help but sigh in shock. The top of the list regarding YUN was still the dark red word explosive. #YUN borrows from herself #Qin YUN #, 21-year-old chief musician of the International Musicians Association #, the principal said in shock, not knowing the truth. The chief musician of the International Musicians Association is only 21 years old. Which country is she from? She's a real genius. With that said, the expressions of the professors from the music department turned even uglier. Is she from our country or our school? Si Qingyan said slowly. What? The principal asked, when did student Qin Youjiao become the chief? However, in the next second, the principal's shocked gaze landed on the screen and his breathing froze. Shocking. The chief musician of the International Musicians Association, YUN, is actually the biological sister of the famous Best Actor Qin Yu. She's only 21 years old. What kind of immortal female lead script is this #? Throughout the entire article, this biological sister seemed exceptionally intelligent. At this moment, the people in the comments were in the same mood as everyone in the office. How can this be a king slap to the face? F***ck, no wonder I couldn't log in for an entire hour and a half. Did I see a photo on the trending searches in reality? F***ck. Yun is actually a real young lady. No way. Then, Yun's famous song was written by the real young lady when she was in her second year of high school. Goodbye, goodbye. What kind of F***king news is this? Thank you for the invitation. I'm scolding again. My mother is already asking me why someone else is the chief musician in her second year of high school and can even be the top scholar of the college entrance examination, but I can't even wash my own clothes. Goodbye, this. Yun is Bei Yunj. After the principal asked, the entire place fell into dead silence. Why was this person's high school life so strange? Chief musician. First place in the Computing Institute competition. Top scholar of the college entrance examination. Lin Longjun was even more confused. Who are you talking about? Director Lin, don't you know that your daughter is the chief musician of the International Musicians Association, YUN? The principal asked. Musician. Director Lin froze. What the hell is going on? After Qin Youjiao saw the trending searches, her body turned cold and she could not calm down. Her eyes were red and terrifying. Bei Yunj. How could this be? She had only seen Bei Yunj once in Country R, but she had been studying in the International Musicians Association for an entire year and had received everyone's approval. But why did Bei Yunj have to be YUN? Qin Youjiao's strong hatred surged out, but the comments below had already scolded her and Mrs. Qin badly. Qin Youjiao fans, #youngest member of the International Musicians Association Qin Youjiao #, genius young pianist Qin Youjiao why aren't you spamming it? Weren't they having a lot of fun? Doghead, the real daughter of a rich family is so confident. One of them entered the International Musicians Association and started promoting herself as a genius piano girl. If it weren't for the fact that he was bitten back, he wouldn't have bothered to play with him. Don't you think that Madame Chin is the most cold-hearted person? Under such circumstances, he mistook his own daughter for someone else. Was this something a human would do? Vicious and stinky, old Madame Chin is a double-faced person. Back then, they had already agreed to sever their relationship. In the end, when something happened to the real daughter, they immediately stepped on them. It's amazing that your biological mother has gone this far. After Qin Yojiao finished reading, she could not help but sweep the things on the table to the ground and scream crazily. Chapter 1329. Qin Yojiao took a few deep breaths and calmed down quickly before she picked up the phone on the sofa. A trace of menace flashed past her eyes as she gritted her teeth. Not long after, she updated her status. Qin Yojiao, I'm sorry. Mother and I didn't know about this at first. We acted on our own and thought that it was good for our family. I did see Gu at the International Musicians Association once, but because of some rumors that I didn't want to believe, I subconsciously denied the truth. I'm sorry, everyone. Seeing that one of the female leads on the trending topic had spoken, many comments flooded in. Is this how you treat your family? Is this how you treat them? Hey, why are you acting pitiful? Why are you apologizing to us? At the same time, there were also sharp people who noticed that there was something wrong with Qin Yojiao's post. You've met in the International Musicians Association? Rumors and slander. What rumors did the International Musicians Association spread about the real young lady? Is there an end to this? Do you have to step on that elder young lady because you feel sorry for her? You look so ugly when you abuse others online. I have a feeling that there's something else behind this. How old was the real young lady at that time? Are you sure the real young lady wrote it herself? Because of Qin Yojiao's words, the public opinion actually went back a little. Qin Yojiao gritted her teeth and cold hatred shot out of her eyes. Taking a deep breath, she switched to her alternate account and found a marketing account with many fans to submit her post. A few minutes later. Exposing bot again today, I received a piece of news today. The president of the International Musicians Association, Du Xiao, appeared at the real young lady's birthday party in her second year of high school. Later, the real young lady successfully entered the International Musicians Association without any assessment, so the real young lady knew the president long ago. Rubbing chin, seeing that there were new revelations in the public opinion, the netizens started to discuss cautiously. However, not long after, someone found out that President Du Xiao was indeed in the photos of Yu Manran attending the real young lady's banquet. So this rumor was true. So, the real young lady got in through connections. Could it be that Yun's score was written by someone else? Seeing these doubts, even Yun's fans started to suspect. They had never thought that Yun would be a girl in her early 20s. Soon. This matter became a trending topic again, but unexpectedly, Yu Manran suddenly posted something. Yu Manran, I originally wanted to keep it as a souvenir. Video, it should be a behind-the-scenes clip from the recording studio, but it had never been released. A few seconds after the video started, everyone saw a girl wearing a black hat and a mask walk in. Then, she unzipped her jacket and sat casually on the producer's sofa. Even his lazy posture revealed the aura of a big shot. However, everyone could tell that she was the real young miss. Teacher Pei, isn't Spring Night Banquet too difficult to sing? Yu Manran lay on his chair, looking like he wanted to cry but had no tears. The other party held a piece of paper in his hand. After asking a few questions, he wrote a simplified version with a pencil. When Yu Manran couldn't find the tune, Bei Yunj gently hummed a few lines. Very quickly, Yu Manran sang a cappella. This was Yu Manren's version of Spring Night Banquet. In the behind-the-scenes clip, Yu Manren deliberately teased that person. Teacher Pei, why is this song called Backton Rose? Is it because I'm your little rose? That person rubbed the space between his eyebrows and suddenly laughed. So you tortured me for 3 days without finishing recording a song because I didn't pour water on your head? Yu Manren. Chapter 1330. At that time. Although Bai Yunj said that she despised it, in order to win the Best Female Singer of the Year for Yu Manren, she had taken leave to stop the experiment and specially rushed to the recording studio. After watching the unreleased behind-the-scenes footage, Yu Manren's fans couldn't stop laughing. Ha 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 ha, Sister Man also has a day when she shivers. Sister Man can't move for the first time, right? This behind-the-scenes footage matches the behind-the-scenes clothes that Man released for her fans. The real young lady also changed the sheet music on the spot. Do you still want to continue spreading rumors? That's right, this answer is F** King Yun herself. Ha 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 ha, who would forget Yun's obedient girls on the internet? +1. So who's the one behind this? Qin Yojiao obviously did not expect that in order to commemorate his career as a singer, Yu Manren had specially kept the recording studio recording of him discussing the arrangement with Bai Yunj. Following that, just as Qin Yojiao was gnashing her teeth in hatred and wanted to continue using her alternate account to submit the article, many people tagged her. She felt an inexplicable sense of fear. After a moment of hesitation, she clicked on it. Someone had exposed that Qin Yojiao and Fang Shiyun had plotted to frame Bai Yunj. Because the informant had collected too much evidence, other than the photos of the two of them meeting, there were also chat records of Fang Shiyun's team hiring fake reviewers to slander Bai Yunj. There was also a screenshot of Qin Yojiao transferring 20 million yuan to the paparazzi. This wave of action simply hammered Qin Yojiao and Fang Shiyun until they couldn't get up. F***CK. Isn't Qin Yojiao too disgusting? She's pretending to be a good person and apologizing to the real young lady while secretly plotting with Fang Shiyun to slander Bai Yunj. I'm having goosebumps all over. Is Qin Yojiao shameless? She's a fake, yet she still has to harm the real young lady. I'm even more curious why Qin Yojiao can take out 20 million yuan so easily without Mrs. Qin's approval. Then, before everyone could recover from their shock, something even more explosive was suddenly exposed. Previously, the marketing account that received the submission for the Real Heiress's birthday banquet was sued by Yu Manren's studio. Therefore, the account had to give up the submission account. However, she did not expect that when Yu Manren's studio announced the submission account and was about to sue, Qin Yojiao would actually point out that this was Qin Yojiao herself. This account was used by Qin Yojiao. If what I said is false, you are welcome to sue me. Thank you. What the heck? This person is so vicious. The Qin family was right to kick her out. Everyone I see along the way is going to take pity on the real young lady. What kind of dirty thing is targeting her? How can Qin Yojiao's fans still have the cheek to accuse others of bullying her online? Isn't she playing with public opinion and trying to bully the real daughter online? If Fang Shiyun isn't banned, then you guys are too useless. Grin, Qin Group, things were different now. If it was before, Qin Yojiao's fans would still control the comments in the trending topics and forcefully cover the eyes of passers-by to clear Qin Yojiao's name. But now, ever since Yun's fans found out that their Yun was the real young lady who had been abused hundreds of times by Zhao's fans, their anger had reached its peak. They suppressed all of Qin Yojiao's fan comments. Still calling herself the gentle Qin Yojiao. She's the most vicious fake young lady in the world. Grin, family, if the fake young lady's fans can still control the trending topics now, then it's our Yun fans' fault. The most vicious Qin Yojiao is a fake young lady who cheats on her parents. Qin Yo Jiao. Chapter 1331. In the past few years, Qin Yo Jiao had relied on Qin Yu and Qin Lang's popularity, as well as her own genius pianist image to attract nearly 10 million fans. However, after this scolding battle, it was completely déjà vu of being attacked by Yun's fans. It was simply unbearable. At this moment, the storm in reality was no less than the one online. Qin Yo Jiao sat in the bedroom with a livid expression. Before she could react, she heard a commotion downstairs. "You can't do this. Lu Yen." Hearing Mrs. Qin's heart-wrenching voice, Qin Yo Jiao panicked inexplicably and immediately went downstairs to take a look. However, she did not expect to see a group of bodyguards rushing in and smashing all the furniture the moment she went downstairs. "What are you doing?" Qin Yo Jiao took a step back, but was grabbed by two bodyguards and dragged out. "Let go of me. What do you want?" Unknowingly, it was already raining outside. But very quickly, Qin Yo Jiao was still thrown out rudely. "Miss Qin, this is the Qin family's property. It's not a place you should stay," the bodyguard said ruthlessly. When Qin Yo Jiao got up from the ground in a sorry state, she was already drenched and her hair was stuck to her face. The moment she looked up, she saw the car door open and an indifferent and dignified man sitting inside. "Big brother." Qin Yo Jiao felt a chill run down her spine, but she had just called out when she met the man's cold eyes and shivered. This gaze was like he was looking at a dead person. However, before Qin Yo Jiao could regain her senses, everything in her bedroom had already been packed and thrown out. "Qin Yo Jiao, you don't have the right to stay here." The man took off his gold-rimmed glasses, his tone calm and slow. However, his refined and elegant eyes hid a hidden ruthlessness. "Qin Luyan, she's your younger sister. Must you be so ruthless?" Mrs. Qin's hand was held by the bodyguard and she could not break free, but she was still agitated. "Ah Ting, go and persuade Lu Yan. If Jiao Jiao doesn't stay here, where can she stay?" At this moment, Qin Yo Jiao met Mr. Qin's gaze. Before she could cry and complain, she heard him ask, "Did you really do it?" Qin Yo Jiao froze. She knew very well what Mr. Qin was asking about. Mr. Qin closed his eyes. He didn't expect the obedient daughter he was so proud of to do such a thing. Where did the 20 million come from? Dad. Qin Yo Jiao's eyes darted around, her heart filled with panic and fear. She had never thought that she would be exposed one day. "Ah Ting, what are you doing? Even if Jiao Jiao made a mistake, you can't." "Shut up." Father Qin turned around and roared. Mother Qin's face was full of disbelief and she broke down. "You want to chase Jiao Jiao out too? I won't allow it. Qin Ting, if you really want to chase Jiao Jiao out, we'll divorce." However, Mr. Qin ignored him and looked at Qin Luyan. "Luyan, your mother and I will go to our nation tonight. After that." Mr. Qin prepared to leave. Dad, I was wrong. I'll apologize to Bei Yunj. Please forgive me." Tears streamed down Qin Yo Jiao's face as she chased after her father, only to be pushed away mercilessly. "Do you really feel sorry for Gu Er?" Before Qin Yo Jiao could answer, Mr. Qin had already stopped looking at her and left resolutely. Seeing this, Qin Yo Jiao turned around and glanced at the luggage that had been thrown out of the villa. She ran towards Qin Luyan like a crazy person, grabbing his pants and begging, "Brother, please. I really know my mistake. I beg you to forgive me." Chapter 1332. Qin Yo Jiao's face was mixed with rain and tears. Although she was in a sorry state, she still looked beautiful. However, Qin Luyan's expression was expressionless. He only took out a man's blue handkerchief and slowly wiped the side of Qin Youjiao's face and neck. However, Qin Youjiao froze and felt a chill run down her spine. It was as if she was afraid that Qin Luyan would kill her. In the next second, the thought that was still circling in her mind really happened. Without waiting for Qin Youjiao to speak again, Qin Luyan's slender and good-looking hand grabbed her neck and slowly tightened. Qin Youjiao's eyes widened and her face flushed red, finding it difficult to breathe. A trace of ruthlessness flashed past the man's dark brown eyes, seeming to be filled with murderous intent. Then, he snorted and said coldly, "Qin Youjiao, do you want to die in my hands that much?" Qin Youjiao wanted to pry the man's hand away, but she had no strength. Just as she was about to faint, she heard Mrs. Qin roar in pain. "Qin Luyan, what are you doing? Stop right there. Do you really not want to see me doing well?" However, Qin Luyan was not Qin Yu and Qin Lang. He had always done things according to his wishes. "Okay. I promise you, I'll go abroad tonight. I'll accept your arrangement. Let go of Jiao Jiao quickly. Let go of Jiao Jiao." Mrs. Qin was trembling all over as her sharp voice sounded. However, these words did save Qin Youjiao. Qin Luyan threw her to the ground as if she was a rag doll. From the beginning to the end, he only sat in the car and wiped his hands with a dry towel. It was as if he had just touched something dirty. "Mom, remember what you said today." The man looked up carelessly and said slowly, "As long as you secretly return to the country to see her once, I'll get someone to break one of her legs." Even Mother Qin shuddered when she heard this. She knew her eldest son's personality too well. He meant what he said. Qin Youjiao also heard Qin Luyan's words clearly. Then, she heard him say slowly, "Scram. I'll kill you with my own hands before I do." Mrs. Qin was arranged to enter another car by the bodyguard. Qin Youjiao was cold and drenched as she walked on the road and watched the two cars drive away. She bit her pale lips and a trace of blood flowed out, her eyes filled with hatred. Not long after, Bei Yunji's face darkened when she found out that Director Lin was in the principal's office. She didn't expect to bump into Qin Ji's mother on the way. Behind her were a few bodyguards who couldn't stop her. "Are you satisfied with this? Bei Yunj, you're here to collect the debt from the Qin family. You're sent by God to torture me," Mrs. Qin said excitedly as she tried to grab Bei Yunj's hand. Bei Yunj didn't even look at her and pushed her away. Mrs. Qin accidentally fell to the ground. "I don't have time to watch you go crazy." However, Bei Yunj's tone was cold and impatient. For a moment, Mrs. Qin froze. She felt that Bei Yunj and Qin Luyan's gaze were exactly the same. The bodyguard looked at Bei Yunj's back as she left. He couldn't help but sigh and silently brought Qin Ji's mother back. Yet, this matter had spread throughout the school, in the principal's office. The moment Bei Yunj entered, she saw Lin Longjun sitting on the sofa. The principal was saying, "Don't worry, Director Lin. When you're not around, I'll definitely take good care of Yunj for you." "Where are you going?" After Bei Yunj pushed open the door, the first thing she asked was Lin Longjun. "Yunj, your grandmother is..." Sensing the emotions in Bei Yunj's eyes, the principal fell silent. Chapter 1333. Along the way, Bei Yunj received a call from Zhong Xinglin and the others, telling her that it was Lin Longjun who had asked for it. Grandma is also very concerned about the northern part of continent K. My students were also exposed to the virus and died from it." Lin Longjun stood up and held Bei Yunj's hand. She said softly, "These children don't have any experience in studying large-scale virus infections." Bei Yunj suddenly broke the silence. You know that I don't want you to go. Lin Longjun was stunned. She looked up and met Bei Yunja's beautiful eyes. They were clear and serious. The two of them had never been in such a deadlock before. The principal fell silent when he saw this scene. At Lin Longjun's age, as long as she went to the front line, the chances of her getting infected were much higher than others. However, Lin Longjun's achievements in this area were recognized even overseas. They were eager for Lin Longjun to join the research organization. Bei Yunj licked her lips. Her voice was a little dry, and there was a pleading tone in her voice. Grandma, can't you accompany me? Her memory of this world was that in her previous life, Lin Longjun had sacrificed herself for the country. The original owner of this body hid in her room and cried bitterly. Bei Yunj thought that she had stopped this from happening, but she found that the reality was not as she wished. Everyone has their own beliefs. What do we researchers believe in? Lin Longjun looked at her with a smile. Bei Yunj was silent for a long time. She let go of Lin Longjun's hand. What else can I say after you put it that way? The laboratory will take safety measures. The principal comforted her. Bei Yunj took a deep breath unconsciously. She couldn't suppress her frustration and nodded softly. She turned around and was about to leave. However, Lin Longjun asked her anxiously and cautiously, will you send me off? Bei Yunj stopped in her tracks. Director Lin, will you still need someone to send you off when the time comes? As soon as she finished speaking, the atmosphere was tense. Even the principal didn't expect to see Bei Yunj in a bad mood. And the target was Lin Longjun. Lin Longjun's eyes also dimmed. She clasped her hands together stiffly, worried that Bei Yunj would really blame her. Outside the door, the person who had been cold and heartless just now was now squatting by the wall. A large hoodie covered his head, and he looked very helpless. She rubbed her head in annoyance. Her slender wrist peeked out from the sleeves of her sweater. Her low and cold voice was filled with regret. What are you pretending for? Why are you throwing a tantrum at Madame Lin? If Wishidu had not come, he would not have thought that his little kid would be squatting by the wall and humiliating herself as if she had done something wrong. It was both funny and distressing. At this moment, the man who had just walked out of the principal's office couldn't help but smile as he watched Pei Qian perform the art of splitting himself. Although I was arrogant, it didn't stop me from scolding myself. Little friend, if you continue to scold me, Big Brother's heart will ache. Before Pei Yunj could react, she saw the man lean down carelessly and reach out to pull down her hat. Bei Yunj didn't expect that the man would see her doing such a degrading thing. But before she could look away, she found an excuse to change the topic. Suddenly, she heard him chuckle very softly. It was as if he didn't need her to hide any emotions. He only said, "Awkward, my little girl." Before she could react, the man had already squatted down. He suddenly pulled her hand, hugged her gently, and rubbed her head comfortingly. Chapter 1334. The rain and fog outside did not recede. In the dim corridor, the scene was gentle and reassuring. Bei Yunj retracted her gaze and slowly reached out to hug the man's waist. She rested her head on his neck and felt the cold but pleasant scent on his body. After a while, her voice was a little hoarse. "I lost my temper just now. You're even fiercer than when you scolded yourself just now." The man chuckled and asked teasingly. "Bei Yunj, of course Director Lin knows. Our Yunyun is a good child." Hushidu let go of her. His upturned eyes were gentle and seductive, but he only looked at the little girl's face and quietly accompanied her. In the corridor, it was as if there was no sound. At night, Bei Yunj looked at the glorious achievements of Lin Longjun online and knew very well. In terms of scientific research beliefs, Lin Longjun was the same as Meng Liang and Zhong Xinglin. Bei Yunj turned off the computer and closed her eyes. Sometimes, fate was indeed very cunning. Actually, it knew very well that it could not reverse it. That was because these people with faith were unafraid of death. The next day, the sky was clear, and the news that Lin Longjun had returned to her post and was preparing to go abroad for frontline research spread like wildfire. Many people and Lin Longjun's old friends gathered in the sending-off area. "Longjun, we're already so old, but you're still tormenting us." An old friend asked secretly, "I heard that your granddaughter doesn't plan to see you because of this." Lin Longjun laughed and said in a gentle but firm tone, "Good, will come. But it's almost time." Her old friend looked at her watch and said hesitantly. The younger generation did not understand why the older generation was willing to stand in this position for the rest of their lives, nor did they care. After all, this was because they had seen how a nation rose to prominence. There were many people sending them off. Lin Longjun had a good temper and was willing to chat. But in the last 10 minutes, she was ready to board the plane. Lin Longjun scanned her surroundings. She did not see that familiar figure and her gaze dimmed. "Director Lin, are you waiting for someone?" Some reporters asked curiously. Lin Longjun smiled. "It's nothing. I'm preparing to board the plane." "Director Lin, you have to take care of your health." The crowd and old friend said goodbye reluctantly. "I will." Lin Longjun smiled. However, just as Lin Longjun and the others were pushing their luggage away, a familiar voice suddenly sounded behind them. Lin Longjun turned her head and saw someone not far away walking towards her with a bouquet of flowers. Lin Longjun's eyes were hot, but she couldn't help but smile. The corners of Bei Yunj's lips curled up slightly as she tidied Lin Longjun's gray hair. She laughed and passed a bouquet of flowers to Lin Longjun. "Comrade Lin Longjun, you've overcome the difficulties and returned triumphantly." Bei Yunj was no longer sloppy, which was uncharacteristic of her. She saluted Lin Longjun properly. Seeing this, gradually, people began to pay their respects. Then, everyone sent them off with their eyes and saluted them. Conquering the difficulties of time and returning triumphantly. Looking at Bei Yunj, Lin Longjun couldn't help wiping her tears, but she still smiled. "Okay, Grandma will come back." Bei Yunj sighed helplessly and took out a tissue to dry her tears. "There are so many people here. Don't cry, Grandma. Grandma is just happy." Lin Longjun smiled through her tears. She walked forward and hugged Bei Yunj again. Only the two of them could hear her voice. The aspirations of a nation are passed down. Chapter 1335. Bei Yunj paused. She didn't know when Lin Longjun found out about this. Then, she slowed down and smiled. "Okay." When she let go of him, a man in his 30s or 40s suddenly said, "Miss Bei." Bei Yunj turned around and heard him say, "Don't worry, I will take good care of Teacher Lin." Later, Bei Yunj then found out that this was He Jun, the heir of the He family who had stopped her from going. After Lin Longjun volunteered to go to the front line, the He family was so happy that they wanted to burn incense. However, they did not expect He Jun's life idol to be Lin Longjun. He even followed her to our nation without hesitation. After watching Lin Longjun board the plane, the smile on Bei Yunj's face gradually faded. A reporter beside her said excitedly, "You're the eldest daughter of the Qin family. You're also Yun. Can I have an interview with you?" "No." Bei Yunj pulled up her black mask and glanced at him indifferently before turning to leave. The reporter was speechless. Wasn't her change in attitude too fast? It even made people wonder if it was really raised by Dean Lin Longjun. Why was there such a huge difference in personality? However, not long after, the news of Lin Longjun going overseas became a trending topic, especially when the reporter reported that the person who was sending her off was the real young lady who had been the talk of the town recently. After everyone finished watching the video, their hearts were filled with emotions. Set your heart for heaven and earth, set your life for the people. Salute the researchers at the front line. She is the most ambitious and courageous. She will not give up on her youthful heart. Director Lin said that she will be loyal to the dreams of her youth for the rest of her life. Are the people in front all great writers? They have completely broken her defense. Looking at Yun and Director Lin's grandchild hugging, I really can't help but cry. The world is ours now, but it's still yours. The times are changing, and the torch will be passed on forever. Yes, one is the past, and the other is the future. I'm so envious of the child who was picked up by Director Lin. The real young lady is too open-minded. The real young lady can't even be bothered to respond online. She's busy passing on her mission. Huashidu glanced at the comments online and thought for a moment before making another call. Not long after, Luo Xia's voice sounded. What's the matter? What's the matter? Yes, I'll help. I can't help you, brother. I'm too tired. Before Luo Xia could hang up, he heard the man on the other end of the phone say, Isn't my girl your idol? Your idol's grandmother has gone to our nation's virus laboratory to study the infection in the northern part of the continent. You don't want to help? Luo Xia, F***CK. This person was able to catch people's weaknesses accurately. Wait, is it Dean Lin Longjun? Luo Xia had an impression of Lin Longjun. He was a respected biologist. Yes. Luo Xia was silent for a moment before agreeing. Master Du, I only agreed on account of my brother. Luo Xia had a hidden meaning. He wanted Huashidu to bleed a little. What does your laboratory lack? Send the list to show you. Huashidu did not care much. Alright, that's straightforward. The next day, Bai Yunj found out that Mrs. Qin and Mr. Qin had left the country, but she didn't ask about it. However, everyone in Yun University already knew that Qin Youjiao had been expelled from the International Musicians Association. No one was surprised. After all, the person Qin Youjiao was scheming against this time was the chief musician of the International Musicians Association, Wei Yuan. How could the International Musicians Association tolerate her? Even Yun University had given Qin Youjiao a punishment. Chapter 1336. In the principal's office. Drop out. Why do you want to drop out? Bai Yunj had just finished talking to the form teacher about dropping out when she was pulled to the principal's office. The principal continued to persuade her earnestly, Yunj, let's have a good talk. You're upset because Qin Youjiao hasn't been expelled, right? But she's currently staying in school as an auditing student for observation. After all, she has also been expelled from the International Musicians Association. Bai Yunj glanced at the nervous principal and form teacher and her eyelids twitched. No, I don't have time to study anymore. Bai Yunj indeed had nothing better to do than to study in university. The principal was speechless. What was wrong? Was she being forced to inherit billions of assets? Yunj, you have to think carefully. A university diploma might be useless to you, but university life is meaningful. The principal braced himself and said. This was the first time the principal of Yun University had said that their school's diploma was useless. If it was anyone else, who wouldn't treat Yun University's diploma as a golden signboard? However, Bai Yunj's family did have a mind. she also had 3 older brothers who could provide for her for the rest of her life. In the end, under the principal's persuasion and concession, Bae-yeonj did not succeed in dropping out of school. However, at the same time, the school gave Bae-yeonj an ultimatum. She could not attend classes, but she had to pass the department's examination in the top 20. Otherwise, she would have to repeat the year. This was a privilege, but not many people dared to take such a privilege. In country R, the scientific elites of biology, virology, and other scientific research from all over the world gathered and were brought into the laboratory building one by one. The surrounding aura was awe-inspiring and the reporters could not help but be excited. This was a group of big shots who lived in textbooks. It's Silver. Not long after, the reporters below took photos crazily. Looking at the woman in the khaki trench coat, they took photos crazily. However, the woman frowned coldly and left even faster. Silver is actually participating in the experimental research. This is a reassurance for everyone. A reporter from Country R said proudly. This was their country's most promising virologist. However, not long after, another ordinary-looking car stopped at the gate, and a kind-looking elderly lady walked out of it. In the past 20 years, Lin Longjun had never appeared, and there were only a few people who knew her. What's going on? Only 2 researchers from Country A are here. The Country A reporter began to stir up trouble as usual. Madam, may I know your name? Why are you qualified to participate in this experiment? Lin Longjun was not angry at all. Instead, she smiled and said, I just have some experience. Listen to Yen. Before the reporters could mock her, Lin Longjun had already entered the laboratory. Hee-jun, who was following behind Lin Longjun, glanced at the reporter with an unpleasant expression. If you really don't know her, then please remember that without Madam Lin Longjun, the current population of Country R would be reduced by at least 1/3. After saying this, after Hee-jun left, the others suddenly remembered. It's President Lin Longjun. Another Country R reporter was shocked. 20 years ago, Director Lin was the first to successfully produce the antibody reagent in the virus infection experiment. This is the first female winner of the Jane's Biology Prize. Even Director Lin is here. Then the situation in the north is saved. The crowd was suddenly in an uproar. They took pictures of Lin Longjun's back like crazy, making the reporter who spoke without thinking just now blush in shame. Chapter 1337. In the evening, experts from the Our Nation's Virus Research Laboratory were having a meeting. What is the meaning of this? Do you think that this research needs someone who has retired for more than 20 years? The person who spoke was Silver, who had just put on a khaki coat. She was in her 40s, but she was beautiful. She was the winner of this year's Jane's Biology Prize, and the second female winner after Lin Longjun. Everyone was silent. This was a fight between the old gods and the new gods. Many experts did not say anything, but their eyes were burning with gossip. Fight, fight. Silver, we don't have much time. I don't want everyone to spend their energy on such boring things. One of the experts reminded the others. Yes, our mission is more important. Someone agreed. They had a meeting as soon as they arrived. Wasn't it to save every minute and second? Of course I know about the mission, but a good team leader can show everyone's true efficiency, Silver said coldly. Silver's colleagues were silent. They knew why she was so against Lin Longjun. In the 20 years since Lin Longjun left, the field of biology had been criticized for not having a successor after Lin Longjun. No matter how well Silver did, there were people who said that it would be great if Lin Longjun was still here. The conference will be held in half a month. Why don't we split up to collect virus data first, share the data and help each other, then decide on the direction. Lin Longjun did not care about this. She just wanted to solve this problem as soon as possible. When Silver heard Lin Longjun's words, she turned and left with a cold face. The scene was awkward. After the meeting, Lin Longjun had already started to arrange the tasks for the experiment with Jun and the others. The experimental virus will be delivered soon. I hope everyone will be careful when you work. Lin Longjun looked at the researchers who were younger than her and could not help but smile. It's good to be young. You all look so energetic. Dean Lin, didn't you major in molecular biology and systems biology? A young man asked curiously. Lin Longjun replied, biology and medicine are similar in many fields. When I was undergrad, the tuition was too expensive for me. I wanted to learn more to save money, so I minored in respiratory diseases and entered the only virus laboratory in the country. No wonder it was said that after Lin Longjun, there would be no successor to biology. She was indeed a god. Xian Yuan made a rare phone call to Bai Yunj. I have a lot of news about Director Lin recently. Do you want to hear it? If you're very free, you can find a class. There was no change in Bai Yunj's eyes. She just lowered her head and continued to analyze the experiment. Xian Yuan wants to curse in his heart, but he still takes a deep breath. Director Lin can confirm the mutated disease in 7 days. It is indeed a great thing that a country can invite Director Lin back. But Bai Yunj didn't say anything, but she stopped the experiment in her hands. Director Lin needs the support of medical equipment. At present, our nation's expert team has already cured a case with the most advanced medical equipment. Bai Yunj, without reagents, it's stupid to rely on machines to cure him. But without the equipment, it will be even more difficult for Academy Head Lin to progress. It will be too difficult for her. Xian Yuan's eyes darkened. Max, do you think the situation in the north is a natural disaster or man-made? If it was man-made, Dean Lin would be their #1 enemy. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.